to be doing it. Did I break it? Oh, you do know? Oh, well, I'm confused because I haven't done anything. That might be a problem because I don't understand what it is that I... Oh. I see. Okay, this might be very loud. If you turned your sound down, you might, or up, you might want to turn it back down. I'm not sure what I had it, how I had it set before, because I just realized there's like an input volume level thing on the computer side, and then there's a separate one on the stream side. I don't know how this got, why this got changed, but let me see. I do kind of miss OBS because it let me... I think this should be okay now. I'm seeing the level moving to the yellow. Might even be a little loud. How is that? Is that better? Let me know if it's too loud because I can turn it back down a little bit too. Yeah, sorry for all the technical difficulties, guys. And of course, my cat wants to go outside now. the second you let him in, he's like, meow, let me out. How dare you keep me trapped in here? Oh my goodness. Alright, let me catch up on chats here for a minute. Sorry. My voice is going a little bit. I don't know if I've been like mildly sick or something, but re-examination dropped in, it looks like the day before maybe? And he said, dropping in to say you can always ask where there's a government charter is detailed out in the New Testament. It's not there. Christian nationalism is also my preference, and thank you for that input. That sounds right to me, but I think re-examination there is the expert, so I will take his word for that, and it seems to fit with, well, in general, the Christian nationalism stuff and all of the other like forced doctrine stuff and all of these like big ideas that that sort of corner of the internet espouses aren't really aligned with the religion in general, like especially not Eastern Orthodoxy. So it's weird that I guess it's not surprising that this is another thing that doesn't line up with the Bible. So I should probably read more of that because of the Bible, that is, like, I should just sit down and read it, but it's just so long. Like, I think it would be helpful for me to have more of like my own knowledge on it so I could rely on myself a little bit more for that. But so far it's been working out where I just like research specific little bits, and my cat really wants to get out. It's getting really annoying. I might have to step away for just a second because like he is freaking out. But in a minute we shall be watching some Christian nationalism stuff, and there's some like pro and some anti, or I guess the debate is like both pro and anti, but anyway, I will be right back. 1 second. Sorry about that. The cat, The cat clinging to the tree or the fancy cat? The real, like, in real life cat, because luckily that cat is still there. Luckily, that cat that is clinging to the tree is silent and doesn't need to go in and out of the room constantly. It's a very easy pet to keep when it's on the screen like that. Hopefully I don't lose my voice completely, but I can feel it's not quite right. Okay, this was a rough start. It was a very rough start for a stream. All of the technical issues and audio and stuff, but thank you so much for bearing with me and helping me know that it needs fixing. And I'm glad I found that little like bar thing that changed the sound, because I just happened to notice that. I was very confused as to what changed. Okay, let me... Oh, I forgot to share the link in all of the Discords. Let me do that. Or actually, I can probably pull up the video and then... No, I don't know if I can multitask like that. Let me just do a few real quick, and then... I don't know if that really helps or not. Like, if people really do look at these and, like, scroll in those, like, in other people's Discords, only, like, share something, or the, like, shill your stuff here kind of pages. I don't know if people really read those, but I don't know. It seems like it might help. And then I'm just gonna do a few. But how is everybody doing tonight? And also, how is this for, like, a stream day? I've been trying out different days lately. I think we did a Thursday last time, and I wanted to try Wednesday just to see, like, what the best day is that it's not, like, at the same time as a bunch of other streams. I think Thursday might have been better, because today there are a lot more people streaming that, like, I'm personally subscribed to, so I don't want to try to, like, compete with too many people. I want to make sure that everybody can go to, like, and watch all the other people that they want to watch, so I'm not, like, demanding people's attention. Like, I don't really have too much of a preference on, like, which day of the week or days of the week I can do streaming, because generally I'm up anyway kind of late at night. But I don't know, I think I would like to kind of have something available on nights when not as many people, like, not as many other people are doing something, just to give people, like, another option. Incident says just do your own thing, don't worry about the competition. The Whopper Wednesday. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But I don't know, I still think it might be a good idea if, like, there are days that are, like, happen to be more sparse with options, like when there's just not that many options. To add an option on that day might be helpful, I guess. Phantom says, personally, I prefer weekends since I go to bed early on weekdays. That is, that's actually a really good point. I think primarily I used to do Saturdays, and that kind of worked okay with me streaming later than most people. I haven't thought about that. That's actually, I keep saying actually. That's actually a really good point. So I might have to consider that. I liked Saturdays too. I don't know why I started switching it up. Saturdays aren't bad. But there are also lots of people doing Saturdays. I don't know. I want to see if maybe I could try doing, like, 2 days a week instead of one, and see if I could do, like, keep doing the Saturdays, but also add, like, another weekday that isn't as busy or something. Just stream every night so you can get all the views. No says, I actually prefer weekdays because I'm usually busy like on weekends. Oh no! You know, we might have to do both. We might have to do like a weekday and a weekend. Because why not? You know what? I keep getting distracted from all the pasting and stuff, so I think I'm just gonna... I give up. Well, next time I'll have to paste all the discords in before I start, and we already started kind of late, so we'll just go ahead. Let me pull up what we want to do. Which one should we do first? Because last time we started going through that like verses 5 on Christian nationalism, and I don't remember where we left off, and I don't know if we got like very far into it, because I don't really... For some reason, my mind is like blanking on what really was said in it. I'm assuming it was the standard nonsense. But maybe we'll start with that one, but I do really want to do the other one too, because the other one has, the other one is a little different from the kind of stuff we normally watch here. It's an Alex O'Connor interview with somebody called Rhett, like R-E-H-T-T. That's a cool name. But he used to be Christian, and now he still seems like he has a lot of like respect for the religion, but he has some thoughts about like Christian nationalism specifically, and how it doesn't really align with Christianity and what Jesus said and all of that. So I did want to watch that. I haven't seen it myself yet fully. I watched like a little bit of the beginning of it, and I was like, wow, that really fits well with the other thing. So I thought we could watch it together. I thought that might be fun. Anson is right, just stream every night solves all the problems. Only 24/7 streams. Oh my goodness, that would be... that would be like extreme sport streaming. Just make an AI def not bot that streams 90% of the time 24/7. I don't know, that would be... I don't know if you could like AI me. I'm too special to AI. There is no bot that can reproduce all of the awkwardness. This is just too much awkwardness for a robot to figure out how to do. There's a limit to their powers. Oh, Rhett is cool. His other show is pretty popular. I haven't seen a Rhett show. I guess it makes sense that he has... I think, yeah, it does make sense that he has his own show. I haven't seen that show. I think he has Rhett and Link. Yep, Rhett and Link. That sounds right. Because he did bring it up that he had this show with this other person on the first interview he did on Alex O'Connor's channel. But this is like a second interview that they're doing. And I think I searched for it, but I didn't really like watch any of it. So, but that is the one. It sounds like people know who he is. I'm surprised. I didn't know. Instances, I covered that interview with Rhett on a different channel. It's super cringe to have an atheist quote the Bible and shame Christians to being more leftist. Is that what happened? I don't know if that's, that's interesting. I'd still like to watch it, because it seemed like from the very beginning of the clip, because there's like the full interview, and then there's like a clipped out version specifically focused on Christian nationalism, and it seems like when I started watching that one, I was like, oh, that's a good point. So maybe we will find some things we might disagree on. That might be fun. Or not. But yeah, so I would like to do that one. But maybe, because this modern debate one is like 45 minutes, and I don't think we got very far into it last time. So we might as well start over. Unless you guys remember what it was about, because I don't. And then maybe like halfway through, we can switch to the other one, and then we can finish this one off when we come back to it. I think that might be the best. because this one is way longer than the like Rhett clipped version thing. Oh, Anton watched the full version. Okay. That is interesting. Phantom says, I watched an interview they did a long time ago, but I've been seeing new clips or a new interview recently. Yeah, this is a new one. I did watch the full interview that they did the first time on Alex O'Connor's channel, but I haven't seen like this new one hardly at all. So I think the original one was really focused on like Rhett's own kind of how did he stop being Christian or something like that, like his own personal journey and all of that. And this one seems like isn't so much of that. It's more like how can like Christians align better with the Bible or something. I don't know. But this is somebody who has studied the Bible very, very extensively and basically was, and I would say is, to a level that's like nearly like obsessed with it, kind of. I can't imagine like knowing that much about the Bible and having like basically your entire life focused around like this one text. So he's really into it. So I do want to hear what he has to say, because I find that I think like I would not be surprised if most Christians haven't actually read the Bible itself. Maybe like only little excerpts here and there that like priests or preachers or whoever read to them, or some like excerpts that they see on like social media, Bible memes or whatever, if that's a thing. So I would not be surprised that most people haven't read it. I haven't, so I defer to those who have. And since he quotes the Bible and claims Jesus tells Christians not to have political power, there's a bad McFlurry joke. It's like a Christian telling me what I should do as an atheist. I don't think so. I mean, I think he has some claim, because he was a very extremely devout Christian for probably like most of his life. So, and it doesn't seem like he's doing it out of like malice. So I don't know. I think Rhett is complicated, that he's not like other atheists that I've seen. It seems like he still like reads the Bible. I would say a lot of atheists probably like have read it would read it like once or twice for the purpose of debunking, but he seems to really like still like the messages of Jesus, even though he doesn't seem to believe that it's like mythical anymore. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Well, let me start this one first so I can quit blabbing. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up properly. Oh, Phantom says Christians still atheists, what they should do all the time. That is a good point, actually. And that is true. So, like the one time somebody who used to be Christian most of his life and is now not like 100% believer tries to tell Christians what to do, like that is just so like unheard of that people are put off by it, which kind of makes sense. But at the same time, like that's a good point. Like it's Christians do it all the time. Where? Okay, here it is. I don't know what I'm doing. I broke it again. Oh no. Okay. For some reason, sometimes it like blacks out all funny and doesn't actually show the screen. It like pretends to. It's like, I gotcha, I'm gonna show the screen, and then it doesn't. It's trying to trick me. For somebody that works with like really complicated like code and technology as part of my regular job, I seem to struggle like more than I should be struggling with like streaming software. It doesn't make sense. Like I should not struggle this much with it. Okay, I think that looks a little off still. Let me fix that. It ain't right. It ain't right at all. Like, I feel like this should be so easy for me. I should have 0 issues. Should be no issues ever, no technical problems whatsoever, because this should be like 100%, like so easy I could do it in my sleep compared to the stuff I normally do. But for some reason, it's like the stuff that should be the easiest somehow causes the most problems for me. Okay. Let me switch over. Okay. Okay, hopefully that sound should be okay. Let me turn up a little bit. Had it way down. He doesn't seem that unique as an atheist to me. Yeah, I guess I don't know. He seemed like really a lot more into Jesus than I find like most atheists to be. So that's kind of how I thought he was a little bit different. But I guess we'll find out more when we get there. Def not being unk. What is unk? For real. But what is unk? Anson says I don't like his face. Oh no. You're really like very anti Rhett in the chat today. Very, very negative vibes in the chat. All right, let's get this part over with. Oh, they got a new like logo.
My name is Andrew Wilson, host of The Crucible, and today we're debating Christian nationalism and how Trump treats the left. And also, there's not a lot of bald atheists here, and I was going to use my normal intimidation tactic against them, but that apparently isn't going to work today.
What is this like bald thing? Because, okay, I know like this has nothing to do with Christian nationalism, but this is not the first time that he has thrown around like baldness as an insult. And not even the second time. This is like at least the 4th or 5th time where I have heard him like call somebody bald as like, oh, that's like look at you, you're bald. Like, it's very normal for men to be bald. It's like very normal for men to be bald, and he seems to think that like if you're bald, that's like, you know, haha, look at you, you're bald. Like, what are you, 5? Like, it's normal for men. That's like a normal part of life that happens to like a lot of men. I don't even know what the percentage is. I would not be surprised if it's like at least 50. And he just like throws it out as like, oh, look at you, you're bald. Like, what is that? And again, not the first time, and at the most like random kinds of like, it just comes out of nowhere. I think another, oh, you know what? I'm gonna get sidetracked again, but I kind of want to pull it up when you know what? I don't even know what to search for, because it was like Fresh and Fit. They were having some kind of event, and they were on a stage, and then there was something I think that went sort of viral at the time where they were all like sitting on stage and they all had microphones, and this guy gets up and he starts like, you know, hulking out because he's got like road rage or something, and Wilson is sitting there like, he's like, well, men shouldn't be, or no, the guy that's like got the road rage, or one of the other ones, they have like beef with Wilson or something, and he's like, this guy's my friend's like, well, men shouldn't be fat or something, and then Wilson is like, well, men shouldn't be bald. That doesn't make sense, because like that's literally that's very normal for men to be bald. And he seems to there are other times where in like a kind of debate sort of atmosphere where he has thrown it out, and even here it comes out of nowhere, this like baldness thing, and I think a few random like clips of streams I've seen, he's like, he'll take off his hand and go like, well, at least I still have my hair, and start like stroking his hair. It's really creepy. He's got like some kind of hair fetish. It is weird. There's something about this like hair thing going on that is very weird. Phantom says it's obvious, right? If you're bald, you're wrong. That's what the message seems to be. I'm not understanding why, though. And it says, I am bald. Lots of guys get shamed for it. I think it's funny since it's a very masculine trait. Started balding when I was 20. Yeah, it's very... I would not be surprised if it's like literally like at least 50% of men that at some point do start going bald. It's not anything weird. Like the only people that might think it's weird is like teenagers or something, that because it hasn't happened to them yet, or they don't like know anybody yet, that like they're not there yet in life. So I could understand like a teenager doesn't really know what they're doing. They're no life. They don't know like this is probably gonna happen to half of you, and they can like put and laugh and be like, haha, at least I have hair. But this is like an adult. You know, this is like a what is he like 40 something? This is an adult using this as okay. This baldness thing has gotten me way off track, but it just out of nowhere. Like why? It's weird. Hanson says Andrew has small arms and a dead fish handshake. That is okay. This girl says, did you see the Pearl debacle? I have seen that there was a debate between Pearl and what's her face from the Young Turks, Anna, right? Anna. And I did want to review it, but everybody is doing it. Like I thought about doing that, but that's yeah, that's all my feed is right now. That is also all my feed is right now. There's that is what everybody's looking at, so I don't know what I can add to it while everybody else is also looking at the same thing. So I don't know. I thought I'd give some variety, but I might watch it later and see if there's any interesting like clips out of it that we can review at a later time. But I don't know if I want to sit through that whole thing. Honestly, I think I started watching it a little bit and it was awkward because Anna's coming in there and she's like, okay, I'm gonna debate, look at all my points, and Pearl is standing there like, okay, like she's got no comebacks. She's just like standing there and taking it. And it's almost like secondhand embarrassment to watch it. But if there's any good clips from it, I might clip some of it later. You mean the you mean the fact that she posts videos? Ansa says drama streamer. Yeah, all of the drama. I still can't believe that somebody did like a whole react to like a whole stream of mine. I feel so special. This is like the big leagues where people like review my content. That is so cool. Okay, I still haven't watched it. I kind of like skimmed through like the bar, but it's literally like 3 hours or something. So I haven't gotten to it yet, but yeah, I'll get to it soon. Work has been like slammed busy. Okay, we only got through like a minute of this, so let's put the speed on it, maybe like 1.25, because sometimes they talk too fast anyway. The long silences are the worst / best part of it. You know, the little bit I saw of it, it was basically like Anna going like, well, what about this, and that? And Pearl was like, okay. I don't know. I think that's kind of the consensus, is that like Pearl just kind of ate it.
My definition, what Christian nationalism is the advocacy for a stable society based on unchanging standards. I think that secularists and atheists and progressives, the only thing they ever do to advocate any type of change forward is to just sprinkle degeneracy on it. So there's no... I think I do remember this part, because this is
I think we started watching this last time, and this is where I was like, okay, that's really a broad definition. That could be anything. So since I already harped on that, I'm not gonna do it again, but that is a really broad definition. That could be anything. So he keeps like defining Christian nationalism as like the most like mundane random stuff that seems like we already do that. So I don't know. Rick Nell says, let's talk more about baldness. Let's not. I think I have spoken more about the subject than I planned already. Let's not do that.
Open wound in the country. They want to sprinkle degeneracy on the wound. That's it. That's the only thing that they ever say. I think I'll demonstrate that today. My third prompt would be that Christian nationalism is good and necessary for the purpose of family. I think that a family unit which is cross-generational or nuclear, which I think is just an extension of cross-generational families, which include a man, a woman married with children, is the best model for any stable society, and that progressives and atheists and secularists move against that model.
All right, so I would say that when it comes to family dynamic, the nuclear family...
I think I do mildly remember this part as well, now that I'm listening to it again, because they were doing this, like, is it better for the nuclear family, or is it better for, like, for like a whole village? And then I think we settled somewhere that, like, an extended family is better. Although it's weird that he was saying, like a nuclear family is, like, what, the same thing as the extended family, which it's literally not. It's a different, like, there's a different word for it. It's not the same thing. That's why it's called something else. Like, okay. Oh my goodness, you guys with the male pattern baldness thing. I shouldn't have said anything. This is gonna haunt me.
Is not the most important part. I would say the most important things are having social support, solid income, and a general community. And I feel like nuclear families typically have those things kind of associated with them. But
we've done this already, so I'm going to do this part faster.
It's not
what about the
inherent to them.
cross-generational family?
Pardon me?
What about the cross-generational family?
I mean, cross-generational family could definitely be helpful in terms of like providing things, but I mean, a cross-generational family can exist, and I would say is almost more in line with typical secular family beliefs.
No, it's not. So the under secular ethics, especially modern secular ethics, what I have denoted is that they're 100% against the family unit. And I'll give you some examples of this. Do you agree
Okay.
with me that for a stable society, there should be some type of unit or family which is promoted within that society, something that people should be moving towards for the purpose of reproduction and stability?
I would say kind of, but it's depending on how you define those terms. I mean, if you
what's more stable than a cross-generational family, right? With mom, with dad, with children, perhaps grandparents who are involved, cousins who are involved, right? Inside of this family, what could ever be more stable than that? How is like the homosexual family more stable? How are all of these alternative family lifestyles actually stabilizing to society?
If you're talking about like stabilizing, I mean, you see that like homosexual couples, gay couples, they have better outcomes for their children than heterosexual. Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. I mean, if you
no,
look
they
at,
don't.
Yes, they do.
Explain this to me. If that's the case, why is it? Do you agree that homosexuality is plagued with problems of promiscuity, with problems of STDs, which are many, many times greater than that of the heterosexual community?
I would say no. I haven't looked at the research.
Okay, but it is. I'm just gonna explain it to you. For instance, when you're talking about monogamy and gay marriages, and even absent gay marriages with homosexuals, they have an open relationship about 50% of the time. That's why the STD rates are so high.
Is that true? I know we looked up the STD rates last time, but I don't remember looking up the like open relationship stats. Let me just like ask ChatGPT real quick. I don't want to do like a full research paper on this, but if we can just casually ask, what would this be? Like, what percentage? Should we do like LGBTQI? Should we do the full thing, or just put like the? You know what? I'm not gonna make that joke. Are in open relationships, because that seems like that doesn't sound right to me. For them to like literally half of them are in open relationships. I would be amazed, because that's a very high percentage. I wonder where he got those stats, or if he's kind of just like just throwing it out there and hoping it sticks. And it says it is reasonable to have more disease in non-monogamy. Yeah, that makes sense. I think open relationships are not a problem, honestly. It is something Andrew dislikes because of his religion. Yeah, it's like, I think I've also seen somewhere where people that are generally do like the open relationship thing, and even some like responsible women or men, I guess, that do the sell sex. It seems like a lot of them practice safer, like practice sex in a safer way than do monogamous couples. And I think it like depends on like how you do the numbers and which things you look at, but it seems like if you know that you're gonna be like sleeping with a lot of people tend to like use condoms more and things like that than they would if they're monogamous, and they tend to not use protection as much if they're monogamous, and so that does spread disease too, because you can, if you of course, if you're like monogamous with one person your entire life, that's one thing, but that's very unusual nowadays. It's usually like you're monogamous with one person, then with another person, then maybe you get cheated on, and then you're also monogamous with whoever they cheated on with, or I broke it. I don't know why I broke it. It's like, let's do a transition into exactly where you were already. I have to be more careful not like slam my keyboard. Okay. Let's see, we got an answer here. Keep in mind, this is like just ChatGPT without me going and looking into the pages and references themselves. This is not like official whatever, but it seems like it's saying that gay/lesbian 19 out of 58 reported an open relationship. That's a really small like sample size though. And bisexual/other 12 out of 58, so 20%. So it seems like it's like a quarter. And if you mean gay men specifically, smaller surveys often land around 30% calling it. Yeah, so this whole like 50% of them are in open relationships, that doesn't seem right. Like, even in these studies that, at least the ones that ChatGPT found here, it seems like the sample size is really small, and even if you were to take, this data as like, wow, that's kind of a lot, it's still not 50%. It's like a quarter. A quarter is a lot comparatively, but it's not 50%. And again, sample size is way too small, so I don't even know if I would take it seriously. Just monogamy is better because the other ways give me the ick. I understand that. I'm with you. I agree. I agree about the ick. Oh, speaking of the ick, I saw for some reason, I don't know why YouTube decided to share this with me, but I've been following this goldfish breeding channel. Don't ask me why. I don't know. YouTube was like, "Hey, you might want to look at this," and I'm like, "Okay, I'll look at it." And I don't know why. Okay, but apparently, the goldfish goldfish breeding channel. Yep. So apparently, this goldfish breeder, his like assistant or something, went to the store and bought these fish, or no, he bought like a bag of shrimp or something, and they didn't quarantine them, and so he dumped it into the main like big tank thing, and apparently these like shrimps or whatever in the water, it was contaminated with something called the ick, which is I don't know if it's, I think they said it was like a parasite or something that is like a fish parasite, and so the fish got these little like dots on them, and they keep calling it like the ick. but I think they spell it more like ICH maybe. But they kept saying that the fish got the ick. all the fish caught the ick. They had to get rid of the whole tank. Apparently they're actually treating the fish themselves to get rid of the ick of the fish, but yeah, they got icky fish. That has nothing to do with anything. You know what? I apologize. Nobody needed to know that.
Right now, even if I were to grant a lower number, and the estimates on the lowest side I could possibly go is 30%. On the heterosexual side, 4%. So if that's the case, I can tell you how this is a terrible outcome for children. Children who are raised by homosexuals, more likely to become homosexuals, more likely to engage in those high-risk behaviors.
Where is that anywhere? I haven't seen any kind of literature.
Yeah, well, you haven't looked, but the truth is...
Is that, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be too surprised because children do tend to imitate their parents and other adults around them, so that's not that surprising. But I don't know, I feel like if you're... Maybe it's just that these kids feel like it's okay to be themselves more, and other kids that would have normally been gay but have straight parents, maybe they try to like suppress it more. I don't know. I think that there's a lot of factors there that are hard to study, I would say. Rickna says, I thought you were going to relate it back to homosexuality somehow. With the ick. No, that was totally unrelated, but I could see how, with the way that the topics seem to follow each other, that it... Yeah, but no. How the ick started. You know what? I'll shut up. I think I'm just confusing people with all of the icks, but...
I'll give you the studies.
They're bad.
Yeah, I can give you the studies. And not only that, not only can I give you the studies, you can verify all of this, but I'll tell you exactly how this works, right? What the left argues is that's true. They don't even dispute it. They just argue that, yes, it's true, but that's because there's a lack of stigma. See, there's just as many homosexuals normally with these intact family units and this and that who aren't raised by homosexuals. It's just that because there's a lack of stigma, right? They move towards that lifestyle due to the lack of stigma. That's their argument. Nobody disputes that it's the case that if you're raised by homosexuals, you aren't more likely to be homosexual.
Well, I think...
So that's kind of what I said just now, which is interesting. So it could be... It could be any number of things, but it does... Yeah, I mean, so I don't know if it's really a problem. Like, I have no issue with gay people whatsoever. I think as long as, like, just keep any sort of sexuality away from kids, adults can do what they want. But I think it kind of makes sense that kids would be, like, more okay with being themselves if themselves is like some part of the alphabet and their parents are more like accepting of that, and parents that are part of the alphabet themselves would be more accepting. So I don't know. I don't know exactly how we can possibly study something like that. I think it'd be very difficult to have a study that really like proved like what is, if it's like one way or the other, like if it's really the parents like making them like them, or if they would have been that way anyway. It's just they're more like because they're more accepted. I don't know. I don't know if that's can be possible to even study that.
That is a little bit off topic. The point is that we're trying to figure out whether or not Christian nationalism should promote.
Oh my goodness, what did I do?
Family.
Yeah, I'm telling you that it can't be a healthy. It's not a healthy family if you're not even monogamous, and it opens you up to all these STDs, HIV. There's a reason that these guys.
It opens you up to the ick. All right, you guys, you gotta be safe out there and don't get the ick.
We're dying at these place for STDs.
I mean, even in terms of like, we don't even have to say like, gay couples. We could talk about like other non-traditional families, like maybe, like a divorcee, they remarry, they have kids. I mean, I feel like under a Christian nationalist, that's unacceptable because again,
it always depends on circumstance, right? There can be good, legitimate reasons to divorce. But what we used to have were things called show cause for divorces, meaning you had to actually go and show cause for the divorce, right? And it had to be a compelling reason. It couldn't be, well, I just want to go blow the neighbor and I feel unfulfilled, okay? You had to actually, because the laws were actually granting certain things to children.
I didn't know that Wilson wanted to blow his neighbor. That's, I didn't know that. I learned something new today. Control yourself, Andrew. You can do it. Stay faithful. he's making a decent argument this time, though. He's not pointing to the Bible like most Christians. Which is interesting, though, if this is about, like, supposed to be Christian ethics, though, because he keeps making arguments that aren't based on the Bible and then calls it Christian ethics. If it's more like based on, hey, these are the outcomes, that's more like utilitarian sort of arguments, like, because don't do this stuff because the outcomes are, like, negative. So every time somebody else tries to make an argument that's more like utilitarian, he's like, hey, you can't do utilitarian, it's stupid. What if I think it's like a good thing that, insert bad thing there. So it's interesting that he himself chooses to argue in this manner and then call it Christian nationalism and call it Christian ethics when he's not basing it in Christianity. He's basing it in what everybody else bases stuff in. So where's the Christianity coming in? He's making utilitarian arguments for Christian ethics because most of our society is persuaded by those kinds of arguments. He's talked about this on his streams. That's interesting because what if the society is more persuaded by these arguments, then why even, like, what does even the Christian nationalism have anything to do with anything? I don't know. I don't think it makes sense. I think if the source of your stuff is Christian nationalism, like that's what you're grounding things on is your religion, then ground it in the religion. Don't be grounding it in other things and then say, oh yeah, well, the religion stuff that happens agree with it too, and so it works. Because when it comes to like other people making arguments that agree with him, because, well, for instance, this is something that I've been working okay, I know I've been talking about this video for forever now, but I've been editing it, and something that I do talk about in that video, I don't know if I explain it that well, I probably should redo that, but basically, for instance, in this argument here, he's like, okay, so we can come to the same conclusion from both Christianity and because the outcomes are good, and there's different ways to get to the same argument, and so we can still use this because it's like the same thing, right? It leads to the same kind of behavior. But in other arguments where people try to do that for the concept of rights, they're like, well, you believe in rights, right? And he goes, and sometimes, half the time he says no, half the time he says yes, that as long as rights can be grounded in God, then that is acceptable, but it's confusing. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into like the whole length of it, but basically he seems to, like, oh, well, I can ground it on God, but you don't believe in God, so you can't have like rights. Rights aren't real for you. But if they ground it on other things and you ground it on God and you both have the concept of rights, that's unacceptable. But in this case, where you can ground your behavior on Christianity, if you can, I don't know if he hasn't shown that yet, but if you can, and you can ground it in this like utilitarian argument, but you have the same behavior, then that's a good thing. So I'm just seeing a lot of inconsistencies there. Like, when it fits for him to argue in all of these ways, then it's one way. But if somebody's like, well, what about rights? Because you can ground rights on God, right? Well, I can ground rights in like nature or instinct or whatever, and we can both agree on like some core rights, like, thou shalt not kill, things like that. But no, that's unacceptable because doesn't fit with force doctrine, right? Or whatever. I don't know. I'm not going to harp on it anymore. That's the little detour we're going to take there. But that's kind of what I'm noticing with these arguments. Like, he's not basing them in Christianity. So by his own standards elsewhere, he needs to ground it in what he's really grounding it in. Otherwise, like, what's this for?
Children having mom and dad at the house, mom and dad working their problems out was a benefit for society.
I would agree that it can be a benefit for society. But you can get those things beneficial. Sure, but you can get those things without Christian nationalism. If you have proper government social safety net, if you have child care for all, if you have proper undergirdings of society,
listen, we have
you don't
those
need
things.
Christian nationalism. We don't have those things. Like in any meaningful sense of the word. In any sense of the word.
You have a massive welfare state. It's done nothing to curtail divorces. It's done nothing. Hang on. Progressive ethics has done nothing to curtail divorces. It's increased them. It's done nothing to curtail single motherhood. It's increased it. It's done nothing to curtail abortions. It's done nothing to curtail any of this for a stable family unit. In fact, it gives alternative messaging. It says these other alternative lifestyles are just as valid as this one.
When you look at society,
here's my argument. I'll give you my argument and I'll make it clear.
I don't think he's wrong. I think that it's true that if, for instance, if a mother is getting welfare, it's not advantageous for her to give up the free money and, have like the nuclear family where the man works, because they're going to lose their benefits often. So they don't, I think sometimes they do still like live together, but they don't like get married officially or something to avoid losing the benefits and all kinds of tricks like that. But in the second situation where, say, you are married and you have a shitty husband or something, you want to leave, it's more possible now because of the welfare. Like before the welfare grew to kind of the extent it is now, it would be really difficult to leave because usually the wife wouldn't really have any of her own money or anything. But now that government steps in and provides them that thing to like fall back on, more people are leaving. So I don't know if it's like a good idea to force people to stay together, and whether like giving people the option to leave if they want to, like, sure, that obviously makes it so that more people get divorced, but is that a bad thing? I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. I could see arguments for both ways, because obviously, like, we do want kids do better in families that stay together, but I think overall kids do better in families that are consistently like feel safe, and there's no like constant fighting going on and things like that. And you can have fighting going on because people are like breaking up, or you can have fighting going on because people aren't breaking up. So I think whichever situation makes it so that there's less conflict and more of the parents getting along, I think that's generally better for kids than fights. But I don't know. I think it's good to say, like, and it's kind of easy to say, like, oh well, people shouldn't get divorced, people shouldn't fight in front of their kids, you got to work your stuff out as an adult in private or whatever. But that's easy to say, right? People have all kinds of their own issues, and sometimes you got to take like, well, which is like the least bad thing that's realistic. Rick, no, the 19-hour video. Wait, what? Oh, is this gonna... Oh, right, okay, yeah, the Force Doctrine one. Oh my goodness. It started to shrink recently. I've gotten it down to like an hour and a half recently, I think. So it is shrinking, which is good, because for a while there I wasn't sure it was ever gonna start getting smaller. Definitely will be converted to Christianity by watching Jules. That is definitely not going to happen. In fact, I think before I started watching Andrew Wilson because I think I first saw him on the whatever podcast. Before that, I was way more right wing. I was like way, way, way more right wing. And the more I started watching him, the more I got the ick, and the more I went back towards the middle. So that's like the opposite of what's happened. Making it easier to break the contract makes men stop wanting to build society. Our culture was built on a different system. No fault. Divorce creates instability. Yeah, there might be something to that. Getting the ick. Oh no. I don't have the ick, so I don't know how I could possibly be giving anybody the ick. I actually just cannot wait for the 21 hour Force Doctrine video. Clearly, it seems like there's some excitement for this video that keeps getting longer somehow. But I think we're okay. I don't think it's gonna ever be that long. That is, for a while there, I was worried, but I don't think it's. I think we're okay. I think we have contained the length of it now. Giggity. Marathon stream. Maybe not on a Wednesday.
Okay.
If you want the most stable society possible, the most stable, right? The best for children, the best for adults, the best for everybody.
You need
It would
proper
be-
social safety nets.
Well, no, it would be.
Well, yes.
I'll give you the proper social safety net. Then it's not from the state because we
I
have,
mean,
we
you
have
can't-
social safety nets
every
from the state.
Something else that I tend to agree with this beaver on is I don't think that marriages really need to have anything to do with the state. Like, I just think that, like, the concept of marriage, I'm okay with it staying, like, a church thing, and I'm okay with if secular people want to have something similar, there could be, like, secular community centers that have some of the ceremonies and whatever that are similar, where people commit to each other in whatever way, and they could still have the rings and everything else, but, you know, I've always kind of, well, not always, sorry. My voice is going. I've always, again, not always, but ever since I was, I don't know, like an adult, I tended to think that there's really no good reason why the state should have a say in who you're like with. So that is something that I agree with him on. I think that marriages should probably stay like out of the government. If they want to stay in church, if they want to stay in some sort of like church, like community center for the atheists or whatever, that way everybody can do it. I think that is something I agree with him on. But he also says something like when he does discuss like marriage for secular people, he says that like secular people shouldn't do it, and I disagree. I think that that concept, that's something that most people like the idea of, and I don't know if like marriage isn't just for Christians. I think people have been like coupling up in that sort of way probably before definitely before even Christianity. So it's, if you don't want to call it that, whatever, you can label it whatever you want, but the concept of people like staying together and promising to be with each other for, you know, hopefully the rest of their lives, I think that concept isn't limited to Christians. We probably always have that. A win for libertarian marriage. You don't have a relationship so good that you want the government to join in. Yeah, that's exactly, like, there's just no reason. The only thing you do is like, I heard you get tax benefits, but you could still give tax benefits for people who are like in the same household. You don't necessarily, because they already know like who's in your household. So why not just give tax benefits for households or something if you have kids or whatever? I don't know. The whole taxation thing, I'd rather just them not have income tax. How about that? Just give everybody the tax benefit. No income tax, problem solved. Then you don't have to decide like who gets special benefits. They just cut it out. Cut the whole thing. The biggest financial benefits are tax and health insurance costs. Yeah, that makes sense. But again, they could do these things based on households. Like they could do like if you're in the same household, then you can share this with the household, because that's generally who is like a family acts like a family unit anyways. Like sometimes people just live together and they have, you know, they share all of the kids and the health stuff, and it's generally like a household is the unit that has to share this stuff. So why not just call it that? Why like force the marriage part into it? I'm not really getting it. Just eliminate the income tax problem, solved. Absolutely. That's I'm good with that. Why should we be punished for working? Like, what do people tax? Obviously, we have like all of these like sin taxes. You gotta get taxed on cigarettes. You gotta get taxed on alcohol. You get extra. People have even suggested tax on like soda. What do you get taxed for? You get taxed for things that you don't want people doing. So if you tax people for working, you don't want people working. Taxes are a punishment. Why punish people for working? Makes no sense.
Well, obviously you disagree with social well-being.
The divorce rates are through the roof.
Any happy
Name a
country
Western nation where the divorce rates aren't through the roof. How is the social safety nets helping keep the families intact?
I mean, I haven't looked up like divorce rates in every country in the West. But if you look up like countries that are performing well in terms of GDP, in terms of subjective well-being, those are all, again, you can look at various like Nordic models and things like that. You can see
the most important thing to the stability of the family unit is GDP.
I mean, when you look at studies in relation to religion and things like that, you see that any of their benefit in terms of like social cohesion disappear when you have a proper, stable government. I mean, the only time
they don't disappear. You're lying through your teeth.
No, I am absolutely not.
Okay,
Sergio Perez and Diner.
Yeah, I bet
he says that so often, this whole, oh, you're lying through your teeth. That exact phrase, I've seen that in so many debates. It's so annoying. Because usually they're not lying through their teeth. They're disagreeing for whatever reason, whether they're right or wrong or whatever. They're not like lying through their teeth. That is so annoying. I don't know if that's meant to just make the other person like defensive or, get them mad or whatever. That's got to be some kind of like tactic to get the other person mad, because people start being like, well, no, I'm not a liar. I'm a good person. I'm here in good faith or whatever, and to get like randomly accused of crappy stuff like that, that is extremely annoying. I find that dirty and icky, and this is somebody that's got the ick. He's got the ick for sure. Phantom says, I watched an interesting video from an economist that brought up the point that the government does not pay bills with taxes. They pay bills by creating currency. Taxes are there to control inflation. I've heard something like that too. Because, like I said, with how much they borrow from us, if our taxes really went to pay for all of the government stuff that the government does, like roads or whatever, then it would be like literally they would have to get taxes to pay for government stuff. But because they just borrow and borrow and borrow, it doesn't really matter if we pay taxes. They're just going to keep borrowing, and every time it's going to be more and more and more. Like they borrow way more than we could possibly cover by paying taxes, and it doesn't seem like there's any kind of limit for like, okay, we brought in, we'll use ridiculous numbers. Say the government brings in like $5 in taxes, and they're not going to take that $5 and spend it on roads. They're going to borrow like $5 bazillion and spend it on war or whatever. So yeah, the whole system doesn't make any sense. It's like, I'm pretty sure that the whole like United States currency and economy in general is the big scam, but you can't do anything about it. Oh my goodness, what did I do? Yeah, not much we can do about that.
Any nation that you name is almost completely homogenous, almost completely a homogenous nation. Go ahead and name one that has the massive social safety nets that isn't majoritarian.
They rank them.
Yeah,
they rank them. It's the study by Ed Diner.
Give me the
first one was Denmark.
Oh, and what do you think the white population of Denmark is?
I'm assuming it's relatively high. Are you saying? Are
you assuming that there's homogeny there, and that homogeneity is an assistance towards that?
I don't believe that homogeny based on like. Are you saying that only white people can have like a homogenous?
I'm giving you an
society?
example of cultural homogeny.
I mean,
that if you pump in massive amounts of migrants, if you pump in massive amounts of migrants who have alternative living lifestyles, it's going to create all sorts of problems.
That's what people said about like Italians and Irish. I mean,
no,
the
they didn't say that about Italians and Irish.
Irish need not apply. That was all over the place.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why.
The Italians brought the mafia to America, and it took massive like. So are you saying Italians?
And then the Irish had the second worst mafia, the police force, right?
Is he trying to make the point that because that there's more like white people because they are the same, like there's more of like the same kind of color there, that they have more family or something? The problem with that is it seems like white people are like reproduce less. So I don't know, the math isn't really mathing for me, because I'm pretty sure that like other ethnicities tend to have more children. So if you were just trying to count like how many people are reproducing and like having like the family lifestyle, it seems like other ethnicities would be winning in that department. So I don't understand. Like, in theory, it doesn't sound, like, wrong, but in practice, it seems like white people don't breed as much. And also, it's easy to say, like, it's easy to point and say, "Well, it's because of here's all this leftist stuff that's causing it, and here's, like, feminism and whatever." It's easy to point at those things and say, "Well, this is why." It's or like no-fault divorce, it's easy to point at that and say, "Well, obviously, if it's easy to divorce, people are gonna divorce." But the world has changed so extremely in such an extreme way in the past. Even basically as soon as the internet was invented, the world has started changing at, like, an extreme exponential rate in a way that I think people have trouble handling in general, and I don't know if maybe divorces or less nuclear families. I don't know if that's necessarily because feminism or because, it's easier to get divorced or what is it, no fault divorce or whatever, but rather society in general, we can't handle the speed that we're going at with technology. And there are a lot more like mental illnesses too, whether we identify more of them now because we know to look for it, or there really are more because I think there probably are really more of them. Um, life wasn't as complicated before. It was more like you had your community. We were way more connected to like real life people than we are now. And the farther and farther we go, it seems like the farther apart we drift from each other in like a physical sense. And that physical sense is the way that people are used to relating to each other. We're not, this whole like technology thing, this was kind of sprung up and it's spreading like crazy and we just don't know how to handle it. We're not used to communicating constantly through a screen. This is something that has happened to us, but our like biology, what we're literally built for, everything that we are is meant to live in a completely different way in a very like tight-knit communities in person. And all of these changes, I think it's primarily like the speed that our overall world has changed because of technology that is responsible for probably most of these like issues that we have with divorces, with mental illness, with everything else in general. And when people try to like patch it up with government programs, it doesn't work. And so people can see these like correlations and be like, aha, so feminism, which I think that's also probably like a byproduct of the technological progress. Everything that people point to and be like, this is the problem. I think those are also kind of side effects of the world we live in, unfortunately. And it doesn't seem like there's there's like this snowball rolling downhill and it keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and there's no way to stop it really. We just gotta do our best to adapt and hope that things don't like end horribly. That was depressing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so what is it? Oh no, am I black pilled? Oh no. You guys, I think that there's I remember reading some headlines or something where they're going after like the black pilled people, whatever that is. And apparently that's like those are like the bad people now. They're like the domestic terrors or whatever. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Um W definitely economist. In my understanding for Finland, the more important aspect of maintaining their nice system is cultural rather than whiteness, obviously, but that's something that gets obscured a lot by both sides. And that makes sense. But I think even those countries that we, or at least the left tends to hold up as like, look at these countries, they have the good stuff going on. Even they have issues, so it's not like I don't really find them perfect or anything. but homogeneity and cultural beliefs is important to maintain the system. Yeah, I think that's I don't disagree with that, but that's something else that I think like is another thing that's probably more of a side effect. Like it probably doesn't help, but I don't know if it's like the root cause of the problems. I'm pretty sure it's technology. Hanson says, I blame feminism. Definite isn't a real person. A real life person, I'm sorry. That's okay to believe. That's totally fine, but I think if I was like an AI that doesn't make sense. If I was like artificial AI like generated in some way, I think I would probably be doing a better job of this than we haven't gotten very far in this video. It was mostly just me blabbing, so I think AI would do a better job staying on topic. I apologize, you guys. I don't know what I'm doing. Doomer, oh no. Anson says he is black-pilled. I don't know, all of the like pilled stuff is, I don't really get it. And especially when, you know what, I don't want to distract anymore from this, but if we have time later, remind me, because I want to look up where it is that, what was the headline or the like thing that I saw where they're like going after the black-pilled people. I think it was like government related, which is why I thought that was so weird for them to like do that. AIs don't hyper-focus on pilled men like you. Oh no. Oh no, not the baldness, you guys. Okay. This is gonna follow me forever, isn't it? Baldness is completely normal. There is nothing to talk about. It's just part of life. I don't even know why I said... Well, I do know why I said something, because this idiot, but whatever. There's no conversation there. I don't even understand. There's nothing wrong with that. It happens to, like, most people. Well, most men.
That's the old joke.
Whoa, I didn't know we were getting all lefty here,
the point
you know?
is, though, what's really funny about this is those weren't the arguments made that they were going to destabilize the social order of marriage.
Yes, they were. That was 100%. Benjamin
Marriage?
Franklin, I don't know about marriage, but the social order in
You need
general.
to listen to
I mean,
what I'm
Ben
saying.
Franklin said
Listen
the
to
Germans
what-
are a swarthy people.
Something else. Just because there's some, like, ideology or some, like, group of people or whatever that has some goal, and they're like, okay, we gotta get rid of families or whatever. And just because that does end up like seeming like that's coming true, it doesn't necessarily mean that these people are the reason that like they made it happen. To say that, I just don't think you could. I don't think you can, because there's too many factors, and with this whole like the way that how drastically our world has changed due to technology, I don't think you can say that. And if anything, it could just be a coincidence. If anything, it could be, they could have had like a minor impact to push it in that way, but it would have probably happened anyway. That's kind of where I'm at. But yeah, I mean, just because somebody says that they intend to do something and that thing does happen doesn't mean that they actually were the ones that did it. Am I making sense? I hope I got that across correctly, because I keep thinking like I didn't quite say that right or something. I don't know. We're gonna move on anyway. When you get monetized, you'll need a bald man emoji. Oh no. Okay, we might have to do that. That would be fun to have emojis. That would be nice. Because, I don't know, I kind of get jealous because all of these other channels, they have their custom emojis, and I don't have any. It's sad.
Yeah, you need to listen to what I'm saying,
and
though.
look, we're all fine
Yeah,
now.
you need to listen to what I'm saying before you respond. I said the word marriage. The arguments were not used against the Irish and the Italians that they were going to uproot the social order of marriage. I'm pointing out to you that there is societal incongruities with other nations when it comes to how we have marriage, to how men and women intersect with each other, and to how it is that you have social stability within families.
Okay,
Let's talk about let's talk about social stability with families.
Okay.
What makes a family really, really stable? More than any other model we can see.
Proper social safety nets for those, child care for all.
They were
things like
stable
that.
before there was these large safety nets. They were still stable because they had mom and dad. Dad worked, mom stayed at home.
Yeah,
and
but
guess
now-
what? The outcomes for all children who have a stay-at-home mom, right, and a dad who works with an intact,
Well,
with intact
typically, if you have a
parents,
stay-at-home mom, it means you have a high enough income to do that. And typically, people with higher incomes already have better outcomes
no,
anyway. So
first of
that's a
all,
convoluted-
right, and especially now, that trend's beginning to change. The thing is that It's not always a luxury. What it is instead is that people make sacrifices. They make sacrifices. This whole idea is gone, lost on progressives, that you can't make sacrifices for your children.
So the whole point is that marriage is nice, but it's not required, especially under a Christian nationalist purview, to have a thriving and prosperous society. It is helpful, but there are other things that underline that.
That's the argument that I made at the beginning. The reason that this is necessary is for the maximum stability of society.
And you can have maximum stability without
Show it. Show me a single stable Western nation that can't even reproduce themselves, bro. They can't even do it. They don't have stable family units. They promote nothing but alternative family units. This country does the same exact thing.
Isn't it also like Western nations are the Christian ones too? I know like South America has a lot of Catholics, but generally when people say like Western nations, those are the Christian ones, because we've got like Muslims in the Middle East and even like some large parts of Asia. We've got, you know, whatever China is doing. We've got like the Buddhism and the Hinduism, and we have all of this other stuff that other countries are doing, but the West is generally known for Christianity already. So if the West is struggling like this, but yeah, I mean, I'm having trouble with this point too, because like say you go to like the Muslim countries and you're like, well, Muslim countries don't have this like lack of family problem. Why don't we just convert to being Muslim then? Because clearly being Christian wasn't good enough. Like we were very, very Christian, a little bit less now than, you know, like 100 years ago, but still like majority Christian. And it doesn't seem like that's saving us. So what do you suggest? Do we turn to being Muslim then? Because I mean, they have the family units and whatever. They have all of the women non-rights that you definitely agree with. So what? I mean, I'm not understanding why not go all the way and convert to Islam. Why are we in this like limbo with Christianity where we're not quite, not taking it far enough? I mean, most people are Christian in the West, so I don't know. I'm not seeing the logic there. It's not coming together for me. He's correct. The family unit forms the foundation of culture. He skips over the fact that FDR and LBJ destroyed the extended family home with Social Security and Medicare. Yeah, see, this is the kind of stuff where I'm like, I could see how those things probably contributed, but I still think that the primary culprit is technology and like how the social media and how people are more and more like segregated, well, not segregated in like that way, but like separated from each other and more in their own like bubbles and more interacting with screens than other people. I think that's probably the main cause of all our issues. But I can't see how those other things contributed. I just don't think that those are the main issue.
Here's all of our billboards of mommy and daddy walking down the street with their kids. Nowhere.
They're all over the place.
No, they're not. It's always my two moms, my two dads.
We're in Indiana right now. I mean, you drive down the road. There's billboards all over the place with like Bibles saying
show me anything from the government, from the top down, which actually promotes.
That's not their
purpose. Then why do they promote rainbow flags all over the White House?
They aren't, because they want to.
I don't think that they have those there now. I know that at some point they had someone like an embassy somewhere, which weird, but whatever. Like I don't think anybody decided to not get married because they saw flags of the rainbow kind on like some foreign embassy or something. I don't think that happened, but I don't think we should be flying any other flags except the American flag on like government buildings. I think it's weird to do that because that's like promoting an ideology that not all people agree with. But I also don't think that like that's the flag thing caused like really did any harm or anything in that regard. I agree that screen culture is a huge problem. Helmath just did a video agreeing with what you just said. Oh, no way. I haven't seen much of his stuff. I know people are big fans of Homath. That name, like that's a good username. See, like definitely not whatever. That's a stupid username. Homath, that's a good one. That is a good one. I should have been more creative like that. But see, that's something else. Like, so Homath, he doesn't show face, and nobody has issue with it. But the same people go to my comments and be like, "Why you no show face? Can't trust person who doesn't show face." Seem to trust Homath just fine, and he shows less face than I do. At least you can see my eyes. Oh my goodness, the hypocrisy is killing me. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, because they are promoting alternative lifestyles. And yes, it is their job.
Okay,
the only fucking job the government has. Bro,
okay, you can be gay and Christian.
I wouldn't trust a person named Homath. That makes sense. They want you to show your face so they can look up who you are and use it to shame you. Probably. But I don't really know if I'm, like, out there in general. That might be difficult. You would have to probably find, like, somebody who, like, knew me at some point when I was younger or something like that. But as far as I know, there's no like trail online of anything, because I don't really do social media or anything like that. So it might be hard.
You're promoting
the only job the government has. It's one of the few jobs they have.
You can be gay
is
and
to promote
Christian.
the health and welfare of the United States. Their priority should be stable family units, and it's not.
I agree, and you can't.
Okay, so my next prompt is Christians have every bit as much right to rule as secularists do, including over secularists, the same way secularists try to rule over them.
So when you say...
Why do people have to rule over other people? Why can't we all get along? Why can't we, like, not do that? Can't we all just be friends? Why do we have to rule over each other? What is this, like, obsession with ruling over others? It's, I don't know. I find it uncanny.
A rule over. Can you be more specific?
Yeah, if you have a king who's a secularist, Christians have as much right to be a king as they do. If it is the case that...
Oh, Anson, you might like this king thing, right?
You have a political class which is ruling over people. Christians have as much right as a secularist does to rule over non-secularists or secularists.
All right. And do you think that's not happening now? Like, do you think secularists are ruling over?
Yeah, I think that secularists, what they want to do is promote separation from church and state to the extent that Christianity is removed from the public square altogether and removed from politics altogether. And I think that that's what the movement is towards. And I think Christian nationalism is trying to stop that.
So removed from the public space. Do you have any laws that have banned Christianity, like in churches? Or
yeah. Well, I mean, you have secular organizations, secular humanist organizations, which have tried to remove 10 Commandments from public spaces. They try to remove crosses. They try to remove, like, for instance, the most recent one that
I think that's fine. I think it's one thing if, like, some private entity goes and puts, like, a religious thing up somewhere. I think that's one thing. But if taxes are paying for it, I think it's wrong. I don't, like... I'm sorry for anybody who's Christian out there and they want to spread their Christianity. I think that's cool. You know, you can have something that's privately funded if you want to spread it in the form. If you want to put, like, a monument somewhere that's religious, pay for it yourself. We should not have government funded religion thing of any kind. Our country was very, I don't know. I think it was a good idea, the way that our country was founded, to not have government promoting, like, any single religion, because there have been wars fought over it, and it's better if we just all get along. Like, I don't have I don't have a dog in any particular, like, fight for this religion is better than that religion, or this religion is better than that religion. I guess I could be convinced that some religions are, like, cause society to be closer to how I would want it to be. Like, probably Islam is the farthest away from the kind of society I would want to live in. But at the same time, I think that if Muslims come here and they want to, you know, keep to themselves and not push their religion on anyone else and just, like, worship whoever the frick they want within their own walls, they should be able to do that. And they shouldn't have their taxes going to pay for, like, a Christian monument. I think it's wrong. Like, I think it's wrong to have your taxes pay for promoting your like a religion that you are not part of in general. So, but it says humans have always organized in hierarchies. It's a nature to have a ruler/leader relationship. Defnut is an anarchist. Oh no, Defnut anarchist. But see, because of the way that the name is, it's Defnut anarchist. So the not there, that's confusing. That's I haven't seen the video that y'all sent me where it's Emmett like reacting to my live last time. I haven't seen it, but I did put it in a transcript, and I asked AI if there was anything interesting there, and I think it pulled up a sentence where it was something about like them making fun of my name and calling it like Def Not. I haven't actually seen it, so it could be like AI weirdness where it like didn't transcribe it correctly. But that would be kind of funny because it would mean like I am not deaf, right? So thank you. Okay.
That I can give you an example of. Trump has an office of faith, right? He opened up an office of faith and he brought in somebody to give him, advice when it comes to faith. There was massive pushback from secularists who said, no, that's unconstitutional. He's not allowed to do that. There shouldn't be an office which is opened to have anybody of the faith come in as an advisor. That shouldn't be happening. So yeah, there's multitudes of examples of secularists who want to remove Christianity from the public view altogether, or any religion for that matter, and only really think that secularists have the right to rule. And the reason they think that is they think secularists will let you be Christian, but Christians won't let us be secularists.
So when you say public space,
so what's the problem with that? Oh, my tummy's making the rumblies again. Yeah, I'm not seeing the issue where like that's true. Why did he say that like there was something wrong with it? Like that argument isn't like good enough or something. Like that seems perfectly fine to me. You can still do your Christian thing. Just don't force it on all the people. I don't know. Definitely not authoritarian. Yeah, see, like the not there is really like working for me for most things.
Do you mean, just to be clear, you mean like government-owned facilities like church, like schools, or
no, even at the local level, they go after various states for courthouses. For
courthouses would be,
yeah, but they're not always federal. So I'm just trying to, yeah. So I do think,
you're talking about
yes, I think that they are trying their hardest to separate out any sort of religion and make sure that this is run as a secular nation. That Christian nationalism is an antidote to that.
Do they do that with private schools? Like, do they try to remove Christianity from like a Catholic school?
Actually, yes. And let me give you an example of how. I'm glad you brought this up. Have you ever heard of something called school choice?
Yeah, I've heard of school choice.
Why is it that I can't take my public school dollars that I would normally be paying in taxes and do to the public schools, who then, they spend like $35,000, $45,000, $55,000, depending on where you're at per student? Why can't I get that in a voucher to send my kid to a private school? Secularists have done everything possible, and progressives, to prevent that from happening. They want you in.
Okay, the voucher thing. This is another thing that I used to agree with Mr. Cookable here on. This is another thing that I used to agree with him on, but I don't know. I think I've been kind of thinking about it, and I think I could see the other side of it where, like, if other people, okay, even though technically taxes don't go to like fund the government, it's debt, the debt is still like shared responsibility. So to simplify it, we can kind of say that like everybody's taxes go to fund the government. And so if other people's taxes go to fund your kid's education, to have you take those taxes and put it in like a religious institution makes it so that other people's tax dollars are funding a religion they don't agree with. So when it comes to that kind of thing, I think it's one thing on one hand, like vouchers would make it more so that schools have to compete to get the kids, and they would be offering like better education. So I think it does introduce that aspect, which would be a positive. But at the same time, I don't think it's right to force other people to fund like your religion. I think if we have school, and I could see how like education is important, So I could see how, like, maybe if the government didn't fund it, people wouldn't send their kids to school, and our society would be worse as an effect. Like, funding public education is, like, last on my list next to roads as, like, things um I would for some reason I can't think of the word. But I'm not gonna die on this hill of, like, we must not fund public education, we must not fund roads. Like, even though I generally agree that everything should be private, these would be, like, the last things to go. There's, I think, like, funding wars is, like, a way bigger deal and way higher priority and takes way more money than, like, education or roads or whatever. So, that being said, I don't think it's right for, like, an atheist to have to fund your kid's education to be a religious one. Because say you're a Christian and you're paying all of these taxes to fund the schools, and a Muslim family takes that money and puts it in a Muslim school. And now you are funding teaching other kids how to be more Muslim. So there's no way to limit this to, like, oh, well, it's only going to be the Christian schools, because obviously it's going to be, like, all of the other religious schools now. And I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me, like, having other people pay for your religion. But I can see an argument for, like, having taxes pay for a level of public schooling that is secular and, like, teaches, like, basic knowledge that's not, like, more of, like, the commonly agreed science, math, etc. And if you want to teach your kid religious stuff on top of that, you can do that on your own. Like, that should be, like, your own time, money, effort, whatever. You can put them in some kind of, like, after school religious school thing that people currently probably do. I don't know. I think that there's other options for if you want to put your kid in some kind of religious education than having taxpayers pay for it. Like, it feels icky. Hello, Unordinary. I haven't seen that username before. Welcome. Saying, yep, that's a good argument too. And Anta says vouchers create a welfare system instead of socialist education system. Both are bad. Yeah, I can see, like, arguments for and against them, but as far as letting them put the vouchers towards religious institutions, that feels wrong. Putting them towards, like, private schools in general that aren't religious, I don't know, maybe, but I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where I'm at with that. But specifically putting it towards religion seems not really beneficial to the rest of us who are paying for it.
In their indoctrination centers.
So with education specifically, that's actually, like, a really, really big topic that I'm passionate about. So I don't know if you want to delve into that rabbit hole or if you want to.
Well, you asked for an example of where even in schools this is happening, but that is actually happening.
Opposing school choice doesn't necessarily mean that they're prohibiting Catholic schools from teaching Christianity.
Yeah, but they are trying to do that by
they're trying to make Catholic schools.
Yeah, well, they're trying to make sure that the option to send your kids to Christian schools are curtailed.
So they're
you can still send your kids to a Christian school. You just got to pay for it yourself.
There's jurisdictions where parents are prohibited from.
Plus, like, what about okay, aren't there all of these, like, huge mega churches that have these priests living in, like, giant mansions and just raking in cash? Why not have these mega churches fund, like, scholarships for all of those Christian kids that want to go to private Christian schools? Just have your churches pay for it. We already aren't taxing churches, so take the money that would normally be taxed and put it towards your private Christian schools. Problem solved. Mega churches give me the ick, says Ricknell. Mega churches give me the ick as well. I agree. There's something about it being such. It seems more like a show, and for some reason, every single mega church, like, what is it called? A pastor, priest, whatever. Pastor, I think pastor is the right word. Every single mega church, like, pastor that I've seen has been how do I put this? Shady and icky. There we go. I really should have eaten something earlier. Anson says if we did away with public education, then the cost of education would go down in the free market and many more churches would offer educational services. Yeah, I think that's possible. And like I said, I generally agree with like taxes shouldn't be funding anything. We shouldn't even have taxes. I'm all for that. But as far as like the list of things that I would rather not fund, there are things on that list that are way above education. I would say like education is somewhere near the bottom. Like things that I have an issue with funding, it's not like one of the top ones I have a problem with.
From sending their kids.
No,
to
that wasn't
school?
my argument. Don't straw man me and bullshit me. What was my argument? Steelman it.
Steelman it?
Yeah.
I think I need like a part 2 of Wilson arguments or like debate tactics, because I think part 1 got like a lot of them, but there's still a few like this one where I could probably put together a what is it called when you like put the same like phrase from different contexts. I forgot the name of it. I forgot what it's called. But I could probably gather the exact phrase of "you lying through your teeth" of him saying that from like at least a dozen different debates, as well as Steelman my argument. I could probably do that one too. It's like these exact same like phrases and tactics that are used. I know for a fact that I can find many examples of him using the same exact even phrases in all of his debates. But I've seen when somebody else, not all the time, but like half the time, when the other person is like, well, Stillman my argument, he's like, well, I'm not going to Stillman your argument for you. I'm not like gonna help you or whatever. Why should I help you? I gotta find that one. That one wasn't that long ago that I heard that one. Like asking that person to Steelman his argument, but then not returning the same favor. That is icky. That is another icky. Hello, Monday evening. Hey, Defnut, hope you've been well. I have been pretty well. Hello. Welcome back. Anson says a woman saying we shouldn't have taxes is like finding a leprechaun riding a unicorn. This is awesome. Oh, thank you. I'm happy you're happy.
By not providing additional resources to
There's
parents.
no additional resources. Same resources.
We're gonna get through this, but on that note, I have noticed that for some reason, like there aren't really that many like female libertarians, and I kind of get it. It makes sense because women tend to be more like really nurturing, and if they are led to believe that like taxing other people to like nurture and provide for other people is really helping them, they can be convinced that like taxation is like a good thing because it like helps people and protects kids or whatever. But the problem is it's not doing that. It's not really a good thing. So if you are convinced that that's like a nurturing thing, then I could see how women would not generally lean towards it. But I think it can just be I think if we like explain it better and really like make a better case for why like the outcomes would really be better without taxes, I think that we might be convincing more women. But women generally like to play it like kind of safer like that.
It's the same resource? Okay.
Same.
So they're not providing the same resources to let you take a kid out of public school and send them to a Catholic school.
No, they're not allowing you to take the same amount of money they're already taking from you, giving it back to you in a voucher so that you have the option to do that if you want. This is heavily attacked by progressives and by atheists and
Do you think there
secularists.
could be other reasons for not wanting school
I
choice?
think publicly you can make
apart
it.
from like
Sure.
wanting to ban people from
I
practicing
think
Christianity?
publicly you can make those declarations, but that's not what the NGOs say. The NGOs who are behind most of this public policy, by the way, I don't know if you know this or not, I'm glad that you're so passionate about this topic, but you do recognize that most of the legislation in the United States government is written by NGOs, it's written by non-governmental organizations, has nothing at all to do with Congress.
lobbyists.
Yeah, it's written by everybody except them. So when you go to the think tanks, NGO think tanks, and you read the literature that they have, including GLAAD and others, yes, it is a stated fact that they don't want people to be moved into private schools for exactly this reason, because they believe that it'll increase, persecution against LGBTQ people, persecution against race, all sorts of different things that they make this case for.
I think they probably don't want private schools because they like having more control over what kids are taught and how kids are taught about what the government is and does, and like teaching kids that, taxation is for good things and here's how a bill is made, even though that's totally not how, like, a bill. That little cartoon that they used to have us watch of how a bill becomes law, where it's like a little cartoon, like paper bill, and he's like starts on the steps. I forgot exactly. Oops, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hit you. I forgot exactly how it goes, but like little cartoons like that of teaching kids like, oh, this is how the government works, when that's totally not how the government works. That like how much more corrupt our government is. Like they don't want kids knowing that. So I could see why they would want to fund public schools and keep kids away out of private schools where they might learn alternative sort of concepts of what the government is and if we should have it do all the things it does. A bill becomes a law when politicians get money to win elections. Yeah, that's... I wonder if somebody has made like a similar cartoon in a similar style of the original, but like a realistic version where it's like all kinds of dirty money and everything.
But that's why they're after it.
But is that prohibiting
that would be a
Christianity
great idea
in the schools?
Yeah, I think.
Or does Christianity
if it doesn't exist yet, that would be a great idea to do.
My argument was that it's a way for them to try to curtail you being able to practice Christianity in the same way. Yes, so they give themselves
other people.
Yeah, they give themselves a secular pass. So what they're doing is they're saying, here's what we're going to do. We have a secular institution. We've taken God out of school. We've taken God out of all of this. You agree that that's true, at least, right? They pulled as much of that out of schools as possible, right? No public displays of it whatsoever.
No public displays of it whatsoever. I don't think that's true. There's still like prayer circles in school. Like I remember when I went to school, I had to walk around. They would literally every single morning, all the Christian kids would get together and make a huge circle where they all held hands, and it spilled out of the cafeteria, literally a giant circle. And I would always have to like walk around because it in the way, literally in the way. So nobody had an issue with them doing their own thing. It's just that schools aren't like teaching kids that they should be doing that. It's like nobody was stopping them from praying together like that, even though it was clearly like in the middle of everything. Like, yeah, I don't know what he's going on about. Like, oh, you can't do that. Like, unless something has drastically changed in the past, like, I don't know, 10 years. That doesn't, yeah, that sounds incorrect.
So they're saying you must send your child to a secular school, right? If you don't have the privilege of being able to afford to send them to a private school, rather than through your own taxes, just giving you a voucher to send them that way. Why would they try their hardest to curtail that other than that reason? That's what the NGOs are saying publicly.
So the NGOs, your argument is that NGOs are trying to limit school choice. And does that only for Christian schools, right? Because there's secular private schools too.
That's the thing that they're afraid of. You can use the voucher to go to other schools, but most people don't. Most people would use the voucher to send their kids to private Christian schools. That's what.
Most
in fact,
people,
I can actually explain the process. So the people who were asking for school vouchers to begin with were asking to send them to private schools for this reason. They wanted to send them to non-secular institutions. That was what the whole push was about. That's where school choice came from. Was Christian advocacy groups promoting that? So yeah, I would say it's probably going to be most. Yes.
And you think that there's no other reason that limiting school choice like that would be beneficial for kids in schools?
I think that they give a lot of bullshit arguments that make no sense. Yes.
Okay. Like what's one of those bullshit arguments that you think?
You make it. I don't have to make your argument for you.
Well, you said well,
see, this is another example of like, I don't have to make your argument for you, but you brought it up. Like, what are you talking about? You can't just say stuff like that and then not expand on it, and people are supposed to take your word for it, and you're not even gonna, like, what the hell is that? That is an interesting tactic. Ricknell says Christian stuff was regulated at my school to a certain extent. Oh, that is interesting. Well, I agree, like, to a certain extent, like, teachers couldn't be promoting it and things like that. That was also the case for us. But if it was something that students, like, did on their own, everything was allowed. Like, you could pray in common areas and everything. Like none of that was like banned or anything. But teachers couldn't be promoting it. That was one of the rules. Like the school couldn't be the one like initiating any of this stuff, which makes sense to me. And since I grew up in Alabama, my experience was different. Yeah, and I could imagine like probably the Bible Belt would probably even go as far as like promoting it more, even though technically they maybe shouldn't be. Like I could see that. There's definitely areas of the States where it's way more acceptable to be like more promoting of the religion. We had prayer time in class every morning. No way. In the class, that is interesting. I didn't think it would go that far. I thought maybe it was just something that like maybe you had teachers leading it or something and before school or something like that. But we had prayer time in class every morning. That is unexpected. Although I don't know. I guess I'm not too surprised because Alabama, but that's interesting. Prayer time in class would not have been allowed. I appreciated their expression of nullification. What do you mean by that? I don't know what you mean by that. All right. I'm getting too distracted again.
Well, you made the affirmative claim that there was a bullshit argument.
I think, well, there's about 3 minutes left, if we can get through them, of this guy doing his arguments. And then once they start switching to the next one, I'd like to watch some of that Rhett, Alex O'Connor interview video and see what they have to say about that. And then we'll switch back to this. And if it's like really lame and boring, we won't watch the whole thing. But from like the beginning piece that I started watching, I found it interesting.
Gave an argument for it. I gave all the arguments for my affirmative claim, but I don't need to then give you a steelman position of an argument you can use against me.
It doesn't have to be steel, man.
Okay, great. I don't need to give you your arguments. I just gave you my argument for what's going on, the proofs behind what NGOs are stating. You asked this question. You said, could there be other instances where it is the case they're doing this for other reasons? I say, sure. I just don't think that those reasons are great.
Could it be the case that that they're limiting school, but by limiting school choice and keeping the tax funds going to the public schools, that improves the quality of the public schools?
No, we have some of the worst literacy rates on planet Earth. We spend the most on education out of every country on planet Earth. The most out of every country on planet Earth. And most of that budget, by the way, doesn't even go to administrative costs. It actually does go to teachers. That's what's insanely funny about it. I just went through this whole rigmarole the other day with a person. It is in fact the case we spend the most amount on public education for some of the worst literacy rates, some of the least educated people coming out of these schools. There's every reason in the world for parents to be concerned about.
I think that depends on like the state you live in, because there are some states that spend a lot more than others. And it does seem that ones that have areas that spend less money do have kids that aren't doing as well also. But I think now with, I don't know how to say this, I've seen some information where specifically like Gen Alpha students, I think Gen Z probably got off sort of easier than Gen Alpha. I'm sure they have a lot of issues too, but specifically Gen Alpha kids, they're having a lot of issues in school specifically. And I don't think this has anything to do with funding or anything, but the way that a lot of them are like iPad kids, and they're so like they can't function without looking at a screen, and they can't learn properly because like anything that they either like don't pay attention, they're just messing with stuff on their phone, or if they do try to pay attention or try to do some of the work, they just ask AI to do stuff for them. So it seems like people who are going through school now with like ChatGPT stuff being available, they're using that very heavily. So they're not really solving any of the problems on their own. They're not training their brain to really even check the work of the AI. They're not doing any of that. So I think we're going to have way bigger problems than funding. We already have way bigger problems in schools than funding. And we have, I've heard also that we have teachers quitting in droves because they can't handle like this generation of children, like teachers that have been teaching for like dozens and dozens of like teachers that have been teaching for like 40, 50 years are quitting and not even trying to make it to like retirement and getting pension or whatever it is that they get. They're literally quitting because they can't take it anymore with the kinds of kids that are going into schools, and parents aren't even taking the teacher's side. Their parents seem to take the kid's side of like, oh well, if the kid is being bad, it's probably the teacher's fault, and expecting them to like babysit their kids. And the whole thing, it's a complete disaster. As far as like, I have seen some I don't know if it's like if the schools are completely like, you know, crazy zones when the kids are completely out of control, like running around everywhere and, you know, hitting teachers constantly. But there are a lot of problems, and a lot more than previous years, like a lot more issues with bad behavior than previous generations, and a lot less learning is being done. A lot less kids are even literate. Like kids can't like read or write on their own anymore because they've had like technology do that stuff for them. Um, so yeah, there's a lot of issues with technology, and how letting kids have it too young has messed a lot of them up, I think. Nullification is ignoring laws at the state local level that are handed down from federal level. The left does it all the time, like with sanctuary cities and legal pot in some states. The only thing I've heard of nullification wise is like jury nullification. So like when a jury thinks that a person really has done the thing, but they think that it shouldn't be illegal, they can still say that they don't want them prosecuted. That's the only like nullification that I've heard of, was like the jury nullification. But that seems similar, except on like a wider level, not like limited to the courtroom. We had an evolution disclaimer in our biology books that claimed that evolution wasn't a set. Oh, no way. Wasn't a settled science. I get my kids to read paper books so they can stretch out their brains without the digital stimulation. Their peers' brains are all fried. That is so good that you're doing that. Your kids are lucky to have you. I think a lot of parents don't realize how much of an issue this really is, because like they're adults and they use technology all the time too, but they didn't grow up doing it, so they're not. A lot of parents don't think it's like that big of a deal, because they're like, well, I'm on my phone all day and I'm fine. But they don't realize how like a child's developing brain is a completely different situation when it comes to technology and phones and tablets and games and whatever, all that stuff. So it's good to see at least some people out there are taking it seriously. But I think like the generation as a whole is a lot more of them are messed up because of it than previous generations. Okay, we got 2 minutes left. We can do it.
Sending their kids to public schools if there's an alternative available for the same money that's already theirs.
Well, a lot of times the stats are skewed with the charter schools as well. You know that, right? Because they're self-selecting the students, right? So if there's going to be a poor student, they can say, I don't want that
Great.
student, right?
So then here's what you can do about that, right? This would be a great compromise, wouldn't it? If you said, okay, we're going to have watchdog agencies who come in at cost to us to make sure that you're not skewing your numbers, and we'll give you the school vouchers, right? But what you do, you can't make an argument. But what you can't do, hang on, what you can't do is make an argument from.
Wait, I don't think that's what the issue was.
With the charter schools as well. You know that, right? Because they're self-selecting the students, right? So if there's going to be a poor student, they can say, I don't want that
Great.
student, right?
So then let me give you.
Yeah, so I think there's a misunderstanding here. So this guy is saying that the kids do better because even to get into the school, you have to have like good grades already. You have to be like, the school has to accept you. So therefore, kids that are going to those schools are going to do better because they were already doing better. That's why they were selected to even go to the school, which is what he means by like they're self-selecting. So what do you mean you're going to have like watchdogs to make sure they're not skewing numbers? Like that doesn't make any sense. Like what, like.
So then here's what you can do about that, right? This would be a great compromise, wouldn't it? If you said, okay, we're going to have watchdog agencies who come in at cost to us to make sure that you're not skewing your numbers, and we'll give you the school vouchers, right? But
what is that? What do you mean skewing numbers? Like they're not, okay. I don't think that Andrew understood what this guy is saying. This guy is saying that the school literally accepts kids to go to their school that are already doing better, which is why they continue to do better. What Andrew's arguing against is, oh, these schools are like faking their test scores or something, or like they're giving away easy grades to make it seem like the kids are like smarter or doing better or whatever. Like, and we got to put in these watchdog groups to make sure they're not like skewing their test results. Like that's not what the argument is. He's like arguing against a completely different topic that point is not being made. Like he's not saying that there's schools that are like giving away fake like good test scores to make it seem like their kids are smarter. He's saying they pick they pick the kids that are already smarter or more driven or more like school more.
But what you do, you can't make, you can't make an argument. But what you can't do, hang on, what you can't do is make an argument from incredulity and just say, well,
if he would just shut up and listen to what he just said, how are you gonna make a school or like force a school to accept students? He might have caught himself and been like, oh, okay, so that's what the argument is about. But instead of listening to the guy, he's just gonna keep talking over him like he usually does, and stay on this point that nobody's making.
I think that private schools are just butchering their numbers. Show me the proof. Show me the proof that most of them are. I doubt it's even.
That's not what he's saying at all. Like, if you would literally just shut the fuck up and listen to what he said, that's not the argument. This is like such a ridiculous straw man.
5%.
Every country in the world that does the same thing, they're all going off of the same data, and that's the data. That's what the data says. Is that the schools, first off, if you're a parent and you're taking your kid to actively looking around the different schools, you're obviously more involved.
Tell me, why
you're obviously more involved in the education, right? And I think that's actually
except that the literacy rates of these kids is way higher. Because they're
How? Okay. I don't think he's understanding what anything this guy is saying. And now he's even bringing up that if parents are more involved, then obviously the kid is going to do better in school. And he's saying they're I can't speak. Their literacy rates, maybe my literacy rate should be higher so I can actually say things in English. But he's not like that. That's nobody's arguing that this is ridiculous. This is like incredibly annoying when people are arguing a point that the other person is not trying to make at all.
There's two self-selection mechanisms that are going on, right?
They have more money.
The parents, three. Money. The parents themselves are already more proactive in the student's life, which I can tell you that's probably going to be the number one factor. Is parent
I don't disagree.
Okay,
but you know what assists with that
is that the schools are self-selecting the students, right? So if there's an idiot kid, right, they're going to say, well, we don't want this one. We want this one who's already like way advanced.
No, well, the problem,
because that's going to make their school
the economic issue is solved with the voucher. That's the point of it. The point of it is to say, okay, maybe
he's not really saying it's an economic issue. He's saying if parents are more involved, regardless of the economic status, as long as parents are more involved, that the kids do better. This is like strawman after strawman after strawman.
you don't make $197,000 a year, so you can't afford $45,000 a year in private school funding. That's reasonable to me. So here's the voucher that the state normally would be paying to this school so that you can send the kid to the school that you want. That's the whole purpose of this economic argument. So that makes no sense to me on its face. The second two arguments that you have is, well, the school is selecting for the student. Yeah. Okay, it's like, no.
If you want to finish, you can. You can finish this.
Yeah. So the thing is like public schools. Do you think that public schools have no bias and choice for students?
Do they have any bias and choice? Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess theoretically, if you look at like, could they suspend a kid for bad behavior?
Yeah, they just don't like him. Right? They just don't like him.
Public schools take all of the kids unless the kid has done something so horrible to literally get kicked out because they brought like a pew-pew to school or something. Like, no, you don't apply to go to public school. This is in Japan. Like, what is he talking about?
Just because they're troublemakers or this or that?
Yeah, I mean, they can suspend them, but they don't have, if they're in the school district, they have to go.
Yeah, most of the time that private schools are making discriminatory policies by who they will or won't accept is based around one thing, their ability to pay. Their ability to pay. And what we've taken out is this problem of the ability to pay. Now it's a guarantee.
I don't think so. There's plenty of private schools where you have to like apply to get in, and even like charter schools that you have to apply, and they're like, okay, we're gonna accept these kids, and that's gonna make it so that our school is like seen as a more like a prestigious institution because we accept the kids that do really want to be here and do really want to learn, because those kids are going to do better. Therefore, like it's an ongoing thing that is like constantly making it so their school is like seen as better and more worth it to go, because they're not even going to take a kid who's gonna be like truant and not like do their homework, etc. They don't want those kids, like even if they do pay, unless maybe if they like get bribed for millions or something, maybe they'll take one bad rich kid or something. But yeah, I mean, you have to apply for a lot of these like really good ones. So, this is pretty much over, right?
Your voucher, it goes right to you. You're guaranteed it. Anyway, I'll leave it there. The debate.
Why does he get to finish, but the other guy doesn't get to finish? That's kind of annoying. Right, let me pull up the other one because I'm kind of tired looking at his face anyway. You get to look at me for just a minute. This is my least favorite view. But let me find the other... Oh, yeah, real quick. Before... Oh my goodness, what is going on? Before we get to the other one, I don't know if any of you guys have seen this one here. It's big screen definite. Oh no. I don't know if you guys have seen this debate. I think I'm like 2/3 through it. It's questions now. I thought about like doing a react to it, but I couldn't. This one is so bad. This is basically so this kid here, he made like a video about Wilson, and Wilson is like, oh, I'll accept your debate on whether or not, and see, like, even the description here, it's like Andrew Wilson versus hater. On his own page too, it was called that. It was Andrew Wilson versus hater. He doesn't get a name, clearly his name is Bob here, but he doesn't get like a name or anything. It's just hater. And literally the first 50% of the debate was them discussing, because Wilson saw this video where this kid did like a clip of him where from the whatever podcast, there was a clip where some girl is like, well, have you ever been, or like, have you like never been mean to a woman or something, said anything bad to a woman, something like a question like that. And it was basically like the way he responded, it was like, no, I've never this and that. The way that he responded could be interpreted in either way, and Bob here interpreted it in a way that he meant like, no, I haven't been like mean to women. And then there's this like supercut of him being a complete dick to tons of women. And literally 50% of this was Andrew trying to argue that he meant to say no, as in, no, I have been a dick to women, but the way that the sentence is laid out, that wouldn't make sense. So without him specifically saying the words that, like, adding those words in, the way that the original sentence is laid out, it doesn't make sense. And it makes more sense like the way that Bob understood it. So the whole thing was Andrew accusing Bob of taking him out of context and purposely like being a hater and trying to like get revenge on him. And yeah, I mean, Bob didn't really do well, unfortunately, but they were really stuck on that one point over and over and over again. And no matter how many times Bob tried to explain, like, here's how I understood it, Andrew just kept accusing him of lying and trying to like be dishonest, and all of this stuff is incredibly frustrating. So I just I don't want to react to this at all. I might like pull up the clip later at some point and just do like a short video of how the video
Audience, that you're making
that
video.
I don't know where it is, or here somewhere. The video that they were talking about, it really did seem like Bob understood it in a way that a lot of other people would have understood it. Anyway, I don't have to harp on this too long, but somewhere halfway through it, I think they switched over to there's some other kid called Parker that Andrew is obsessed with, that he wants to constantly debate. That they had some kind of thing on Piers Morgan, and I think he was being a dick there or something. And I don't even know. After that, like halfway through, I kind of lost track of what the discussion was, because it kept coming back to that first quote over and over and over again. This was the most repetitive useless debate I have ever listened. This was like literally the worst debate ever. It was so bad. It was circles and circles and circles, just over and over and over the same point, over and over and over. It was completely exhausting. Rick now says, I only made it to the end where they weren't debating anymore. Did you watch the debate he did with Dave Smith? Yes. He was a complete asshole to Dave the whole time, and it seemed like Dave wasn't even ready for a debate. Like, it seemed like he came there for an interview or something, because I remember at the very beginning, Dave was like, well, I guess we could, like, have a debate if you want, but we could just have a conversation too. Uh-oh. Sounds a new subscriber. Welcome. I forgot that I put that that Christmas music. I should probably change it more to like the regular non-holiday music, since it's not the holidays anymore. But welcome. So yeah. This was terrible. Completely awful, terrible. But the Dave Smith one, somewhere in the beginning, it seems like Dave is like doesn't really know like what's going on, because it seems like he just showed up and he's like getting attacked. And he's like, well, I guess we could debate this if you want. And Andrew's like, yes, I want to have the debate, and we're gonna do the debate. Like, he is like completely rabid that entire conversation. It's so unpleasant. And honestly, like, Dave didn't do that well as far as like the debate itself, but it seemed like he was more like kind of winging it. Like, he wasn't really prepared for any of these points. And I think that he really probably should have been more prepared to answer some of these if he's going to be like, from his previous content, you would think that he would have better answers for the kinds of questions that Andrew was hammering him with. But in the end, I think he kind of had an excuse of why he didn't do so well, because Andrew was literally like rabidly attacking him. It was uncomfortable. Like, I don't know what the deal was, if he was put off by that, or if it seemed like he honestly like didn't know that was going to be a debate. But Dave Smith is good debating against dumb folks. He should stay with the mainstream folks like he does. I agree that I've seen him debate well. I don't know if like all of them are completely like dumb people. I don't think that applies to like everybody that he's debated before, but I think he does tend to win. And here, I don't know, a lot of things. Oh, it just came up again for some reason. I don't know why that happened twice. Oh, you know what? That's like the old one. I don't know why. That was like my old alert box from the purple layout. That one lagged too. You know what? I don't think it's a huge issue now. I'll fix it later. Or no, is it this one? I think it's this one. No, this one. Is it this one? Yep, it's this one, Stream Elements. I'm just gonna hide this. I used to have it still in case somebody used like the old link, and so I kept it in this view, but I don't think that's necessary anymore. Dave has said in interviews that he doesn't debate people who know more than him. Really? That's interesting. I don't even think that Andrew knows more than Dave. I think he just like had a plan and he was ready, and Andrew, or rather Dave, hasn't really thought through some of these questions before and got attacked viciously. So I don't know. I think that if Dave had a chance to prepare for like the kinds of stuff that we're going to be talking about, I think he probably would have done a better job. But the weird thing is, it seems like after that they made up, and Dave had him on the show, and I don't know, I found that icky. Anyway, Oh yeah, I was gonna switch to the other one. Let me do this. Sorry, you gotta see the huge Death Note again. My least favorite huge view. Okay, let me find the video. This should be pretty easy. Here it is. Okay. Let me... Actually, I need to get a drink of real water, because this is an empty cup. But I need to get a drink of water real quick, so we're gonna be right back, literally like 30 seconds. Okay. That cat looks like he finished. Oh my goodness. Y'all gotta stop making fun of my cat. The one with the tree. You gotta let him be innocent. It's an innocent kitty cat. He's just playing. I think this might be the last stream where I have the like wintry... I don't know. I mean, technically it's still winter in most of the states until like even February. Maybe early March would be a good time to switch to like a spring themed one, but I think the Christmas tree probably has to go since it's way after Christmas now. But technically the rest of it is like snowflakes and like a wintry landscape. It's not very like festive holiday except for that cat. It's very cute though. I might have to find another like cat thing to put there. I feel like Def Not right now covering my face to walk in the snow. Oh really? Do you have... Oh wait, or like, oh, because the snowflakes, or okay, for some reason I thought like you might actually be physically walking in the snow now, but I'm starting to realize it's like the snowflake theme is probably... It's probably about the snowflake theme going on here. Okay, without further ado.
I think that the sort of dogged pursuit of political power and the consolidation of political power, especially in the United States, by Christians, is one of the biggest betrayals of the teachings of Jesus. And I think that it has been disillusioning to a lot of Christians. Interestingly, my entire deconstruction happened outside of that, and now I was a conservative Christian. I voted Republican because of abortion, probably alone. But the political landscape has changed a lot. And at this point, the embrace of the pursuit of political power and talking about it and how it's spreading to more and more Christians, I feel like this is a new level. I don't think this is something that I experienced, 15 years ago when I was deconstructing. So I want to talk a little bit about what Jesus has to say about this, or what the Bible has to say about this, and then we can kind of talk about why I think this is such a problem. Let's start when Jesus is before Pilate, right? So this is just kind of setting the stage. You've got Jesus before Pilate in John 18, and he essentially...
So I don't know if 1.5 is going to be good, because sometimes people do this thing where they talk really fast and then they pause and talk really slow. I'm guilty of that as well. I have the same problem. So it's like, if you put the speed on too high, the parts where they talk faster get like it gets too fast, and then the parts where they go slower sounds a little bit better, but I don't know, it's a trade-off. So let me know if I should lower it to like a closer to the normal speed again. I am physically walking in the snow right now, says Rick. Now, oh, okay, so you have the okay. For some reason, I thought maybe you were referring to like me looking like I'm walking in snow because I have the snowflakes, but you have actual snow. That's crazy. So you have like you're like cosplaying me. Def not cosplay. That's pretty funny. This Rhett guy gets me angry, says Ensign. Oh no. Don't be angry. It's gonna be alright. Show me on this doll where sorry, that was inappropriate.
Says, well, Pilate is basically asking him like, well, let me just say it. Let me just read it. So Pilate entered his headquarters again and called Jesus and said to him, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Do you say this of your own accord, or did others say it to you about me?" Pilate answered, "Am I a Jew? Your own nation and the chief priests have delivered you over to me. What have you done?" And Jesus answered, "My kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, that I might not be delivered over to the Jews. But my kingdom is not from this world." So again, here we are. Jesus is having this moment where he has been taken in, and he's being taken in by the political forces that existed at that time, where they were kind of executing the will of God to literally execute him. And what did he do? He took that opportunity to say, "My kingdom, this is not about this worldly kingdom that you're talking about. My kingdom is not of this world."
And if it were, my servants would be fighting.
They'd be doing something about it right now. They would be in here doing something about it. The reason that they are not resistant, in fact, earlier when Peter cuts off the ear, he's like, no, he puts it back on, He's like, no, that's not what we're doing. We're not fighting. We're not here to fight. You don't get that anywhere from Jesus, right? Well, you get that a little bit from Israel, which I think is one of the reasons that I think Christian nationalism is a little bit confused about trying to basically be the nation of Israel today. It's like, it's a little complicated, but let's just talk about Jesus.
And the imagery there of Trump with literally a broken ear shouting fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like
oh no, the ear. Okay, so I didn't know that there was a Bible thing about the ear, but I can see that they're drawing comparison of when Trump got shot in the ear, and okay, that I'm kind of interested more of like what that original story was about and how that might relate, because it seems like there's a inside joke there I'm not getting because I haven't read the Bible. Anson took the black pill and feeling better now. That is good. I think. But I do want to find that headline too where they were talking about like, oh, we're going to go after the black pilled people now. They're the problem. It was ridiculous. I got to find that for next time. I think it might have something to do with how they shot that woman in the car, and yeah, I think it had something to do with that. The Bible isn't the word of Jesus as an atheist. He says that earlier in the interview. He quotes Jesus to advance a political agenda of his own. Well, yeah, but I think the point here is like Christians do think that like the Bible is talking about like here's what Jesus said and here's what Jesus did. And if you say you believe that, but then you also say, hey, I'm gonna use this to take political power, even though the Bible doesn't have anything to like not only does it not have anything to say that like you should be doing that, but it like in this example it has literally an example of how Jesus that Christians believe in is saying that that's not what this is about. So it's more of like, I think this sounds more like internal critique rather than like whether he believes or not. I don't think that really matters in this case, since it's internal critique. I've come to hate that word. I think the concept is great. I like, arguing that way myself, but it's been ruined by Wilson because he constantly says he's doing it, but he's constantly doing it wrong. So I've come to find that word so annoying, but I think that's kind of the concept here. We have a democratic system. Telling one creed they can't participate is creediest and hateful. I don't think they're saying they can't like participate in the democratic system. I think like how I read, well, I don't know exactly like what his intentions here are, because so far I've seen only like a few minutes of this, but it seems like, at least to me, this reads like Christian nationalism, where they want to have like, where how how Wilson earlier in the other video was saying, well, why can't we as Christians rule over the atheists? I think that's the kind of thing that he's arguing against here, because it's specifically like Christian nationalist. So it's like, well, look, Jesus doesn't even want to be the king of whoever in the Bible, that kind of king in this world. It's more about the other world. So it's more against the kinds of Christians that are trying to like take power and like rule over others, versus like participating at the same level as other kinds of non-religious or other religious kinds of people.
Dark contrast.
Right. But I think it gets even more explicit. So this is the famous passage where the Pharisees try to trap Jesus into question about taxes. So they had been giving him a number of different challenges to catch him, right? And so, we'll just kind of cover this because I can remember the details. So, the Pharisees have this idea to come and ask Jesus if they should pay taxes to Caesar. And the reason that they thought that this was a trap is because if he's supposed to be the Messiah, at least as they understand it, he's supposed to be the one delivering them from this Roman rule. So if he's like saying, yeah, we should give money to our oppressors, not a very good Messiah according to their perspective. And if he says, yeah, no, we shouldn't pay taxes, then they report him and get him delivered to the Romans, right? So this was like a nice setup. And when they do this, they say, should we pay taxes to Caesar? He's like, grab me a denarius, grab me a coin. And he takes it and he says, who is this on the coin? And they say, Caesar. And he says, render to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. Why is this so important? And why is this so relevant to the current situation? Notice he didn't say anything like, see this coin? It should say, in Yahweh we trust on it. That's the battle that we should be fighting. We should be fighting to get the kingdom that is oppressing us, or the kingdom of this world, to represent God. He's basically saying, this is irrelevant to my mission. Yeah, pay taxes to Caesar. That's a completely different thing. This embrace of political power and thinking that that is the answer, that's how we bring...
I don't know. I find these to be good points. This was more about the Jewish mythology of what the Messiah should have been. He was supposed to be a warrior. I'm not sure about that. I don't know the context of that. So I feel I am uneducated to either deny or confirm. But he is taking stuff out of context, says Anson. Okay. Again, I can neither confirm or deny, but to me this sounds right. But if there's more context there that I'm missing, I would be interested to know it. Preferably in an easy to understand video format.
Bring about the kingdom of God.
Somewhere where I don't have to, sit there and read the Bible myself, because it's so long. Like, man. If it was a nice, like, can't they condense it down to a nice, like, 100-page novel? So it's, you don't look at it and you're like, oh man, this is gonna take forever. And the text is so small too, like I don't know, the task seems daunting. And so I used to love reading, like, when I was younger, I used to read, like, sometimes several novels a day. Like, I wouldn't, not even, like, I don't know, like, I would read the entire time I was in school. I would constantly go to the library and check out, like, a pile of books every week. It was ridiculous. Like, I read so many books when I was younger. And even I, a person who at least used to, I don't have as much time anymore to do that, but at least a person who, like, used to be obsessed with reading, even I have not read the Bible because it just seemed so, there's so much of it. I don't know. I feel like if they condensed it down a little bit, I might be able to do that. You could read a kid's Bible. I have read a kid's Bible. When I was a kid, I had an illustrated children's Bible. And I think that's when I started to question it, because I was like, wait, all of the animals got on this boat? And like, what? Yeah. That's the whole, like, arc in the animals that really is, like, I don't remember how old I was. I thought maybe it was like 7 or something. And I was like, wait, how many animals went on the boat? How big was this boat? I don't know. A lot of things, it just seemed... At that age, I was also reading a lot of fairy tales, and it seemed like, to my young mind, it seems like the kinds of things that were discussed in this, like at least the children's Bible that I had, they were the kind of like fantastical things that I was reading about in other books that were like clearly marked fiction. So I don't know, maybe it's the fault of the children's Bible expressing things in the way that it did. Maybe I would have been more of a believer had I not read the children's Bible and had been exposed to the real deal somehow better, but yeah. I gotta stop with the tangents.
It is a complete misunderstanding of what Jesus was talking about. And I do think it's wild because the whole, the "In God We Trust" on the American money, like it's a pretty recent innovation.
That
I can't remember
Cold War thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I can't remember exactly when it...
Oh no, he spilled his tea or coffee or whatever he has in there. And now they're talking kind of fast. Mythology is always written haphazardly. Anson says, I must sleep. Y'all have a good night. Good night, Anson. Thank you for hanging out. I think we will stay up and finish at least this video, hopefully. And I kind of want to finish the other one too, but we'll see how it goes. But thanks for hanging out. We'll see you next time.
Look, that's water.
Yeah, all right.
Right onto the Bible. I only did that to make you feel welcome.
Okay, where were we?
Everything's cleaned up. My Bible's a little bit wet. No worse. Okay.
Holy water now on the table.
So I think that this last passage is the one that is the most informative about this. And you talked about it a moment ago. The temptation of Jesus. And of course, he's out there in the wilderness for 40 days. And so there's the 3 temptations from the devil. The first being, turns these stones into bread. The next one being, throw yourself off of this and the angels will save you. And then the third one being going up to the top of the mountain, saying, look at all the kingdoms of the world. I will give you all of this if you will just bow down and worship me. And of course, Jesus says, be gone, Satan. Listen, what does it say exactly in the ESV? He says,
worship God and serve him alone.
Yeah, be gone, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve, and only him shall you serve. Again, it's the
Yeah,
ESV.
and interestingly, that's not actually written. Jesus is like slightly rewording the passage he's trying to, in the Old Testament, the passage is something like, fear, I think it's fear God and serve him only, or something like that. It doesn't use the word.
That's something else I find fascinating about the Bible. And like one of the reasons why, like the more stuff I watch about it, I kind of want to like take the time and go and read it myself and like figure out all of these like translations and everything and learn Hebrew and all of this stuff. Like all of that stuff sounds really interesting to me, but just because of how much there is and how difficult that would be to learn like the other language just to study the original. And because another thing that I kind of have an issue with is a lot of the translations. It seems like depending on how you translate something, you could have lots of different meanings. And I'm concerned that because of the way a lot of it was translated by like in different languages at different times by different people, it seems like the original message may have gotten changed too much. So that's something I'm concerned about. But I think it would be so cool to like learn the translations and the differences and the like all the original stories and everything. I think that would be interesting to do, but it's just so damn long. I just don't have the time for that kind of thing. So I do rely on other people that are researchers to like share the information. So it's unfortunate. I know Anson said that these things are out of context, but
worship.
I would be curious to see how maybe if I could find somebody who like thinks that these passages mean something else or something and get that side of things too. I would like to know, because like at face value these things seem reasonable to me and seem like they make sense, and that it does seem to show that Jesus did not want Christian nationalism. So, I mean, that's how it reads to me. So I don't know how it's out of context. I would really like to know. Just learn Hebrew casually, says Rick. No, yeah, I am great with languages. Actually, I am great with languages, but I think that's one that I've never even tried because of how complicated it looks to me. I don't know. And doesn't it like not have vowels or something too in the right? I don't know. So there's so much. It's just so different than anything else that I've learned that I think I'm probably too old to learn it at this point, and ain't nobody got that kind of time.
Which is obviously it's Greek and Hebrew, but he's not actually quoting it quite correctly there, which is interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Side note, footnote.
Yeah, footnote.
Continue.
So this is pretty wild, considering the state of the current American church. Because
wait, what languages do you know? Says Rick. No, I studied Spanish from like middle school until the end of high school, and I still remember some of it. I was really good at Spanish, and I know Russian fluently and English obviously. And then I used to watch so much anime that I picked up like some Japanese, but obviously in like a weeaboo way, not like a real study Japanese way. So
there's a lot going on here.
but if I see languages that are like similar to Spanish or I got captions or like other Roman languages like Italian or French or whatever, and a lot of words are similar, so sometimes I can kind of get like the gist of some of the other ones. But yeah, I don't know. I just always found languages easy to learn.
Logically, of course, but the one opportunity.
And also, obviously, all the other ones like C# and JavaScript and SQL and everything else.
That Jesus has to make a commentary about embracing political power over the kingdom or the kingdoms of this world is presented as a temptation of Satan. This is presented as a temptation of Satan to fall for this. We've got to be in control of the kingdoms of the world. Does Jesus say, well, okay, maybe you're in charge right now, but you just wait until a few of my followers are in government, or you wait until we're in charge? Again, he says, it's not about that. We are operating on a different plane. And it just blows my mind.
I don't know. I think that's kind of cool. Like, I know I'm not religious or anything, but if what he is communicating here is kind of how it was intended, I can get down with that. I have, like, on some level, I have some, like, spiritual leanings, and I kind of like the idea of, like, not trying to control other people and like saving like certain concepts for like personal spiritual beliefs and not like forcing them on other people in this world. So I don't know, I kind of like that. Russian would be cool to know. I was wondering if you'd throw in programming languages. Yeah. I thought I would, since the list seemed kind of short at first. Just add a little bit at the end there. Add a little padding at the end, so it seems like a larger volume of languages.
Mind that we've gotten to this place where this seems to be the way that the kingdom of God is going to be established, is by infiltrating and taking over the government. And I'm not just saying that it's not a good idea from a Christian perspective. I'm saying it is forbidden. I'm saying that it is explicitly called out as something that will take you away from actually doing the work of God. And
actually,
I think it's interesting. I think it's worth noting that the more that Christians have embraced this pursuit of political power, the more they have embraced political leadership that looks a lot less like Jesus and a lot more like the devil himself. Is that not crazy?
Yeah, I think it's true, but it's also maybe it's a bit easy to say, like, that if you pursue political power, you begin to sort of betray Christian principles. And some people will listen to this, and I think there are two things which people will say in response to this. One thing is they'll say, okay, but if you look at the Old Testament, God is constantly installing literal political king. There are at least some contexts in which God thought that it was necessary to have, his rulers on earth. I think
Speaking of like how like the Old Testament and things that are different, I have heard a lot of people who I don't know if it was like a lot, several people who are like biblical scholars who have this idea that, and even people that have written this like thousands of years ago, that they thought that like the Old Testament, that's a different kind of God than the New Testament. Like there's some ideas out there that it's not even the same God. Like the Old Testament and the New Testament are like completely different concepts of God and completely different religions. It's like when they were putting together like which text should make up the New Testament, like some of the original compilations, they were finding that it was so very different from the kind of God that we have in the Old Testament that they believed that it doesn't even go together, that it was like a completely different thing.
I know what I would say in response to that. I wonder what you would say. And the second thing is then...
So it's interesting that like this is another example of like how different the Old Testament is if what they're saying is right. So it's interesting that as far as I understand, Christians still like believe in the Old Testament, but they also have the new one, but they don't like discard the old one. So like they're not saying that like that's like fake or something. They still think that at least most Christians that I know have this kind of idea that that's the same God, that the God of the Old Testament is the same God that's described in the New Testament, and it's like more writings came out or something, and so some things are different, sure, but it's kind of a progress thing, or I don't know exactly what like the reasons are, but it seems like they have an understanding that sure, some things are different, but like the New Testament, it's like better or something. I don't know. I think I need to be way more educated on this before I completely like blab myself into nonsense, but I have heard that it was very different. So I do wonder why not just discard it and have the New Testament stand on its own, like its own separate book if they're so different. Rickness says maybe because the circumstances or context was different in old versus new. Interesting take though. That's a good point. Yeah, it's like which texts made up each, because I think originally it wasn't like a testament altogether. It was like separate writings that people compiled later into like the testaments. So like obviously some writings didn't make it into the testament, and it's interesting like whoever compiled them, which ones they chose to keep and which ones they didn't. So between that and the translations and everything, it just seems like there's a lot of possibilities of like diluting the original word there that I'm concerned about.
Okay, I'm Christian. I'm sat at home. I'm listening to this. Don't clip that either. And I would like to know what to do then, because I care about what's happening in my country, and I want to vote.
I wouldn't be surprised if somebody clipped that. He was already, I heard, getting like accused of being Christian when he said, like, he was talking to somebody apparently, like in an interview similar to this, and apparently he said something like, I can. I forgot what the exact quote was, but like he kind of understands more of why people are Christian now than he did when he was younger, or like he thinks it's like slightly more plausible now than he did when he was younger, or something like that, which doesn't mean he's Christian. He's just slightly more plausible, isn't really giving it a lot, but apparently he was getting a lot of accusations of like turning Christian or something because he said that. How dare he be Christian, says Rick. No. I mean, he said the words. Clip it and ship it.
For somebody who shares my values, but am I supposed to look at anybody who says I'm a Christian and I'm running on Christian motivations and say, no, I'm not going to vote for you because, that can't be true. Whereas I feel like I want someone who's Christian to, run my, like, what can they actually do?
Those are good questions. To answer the first, I think that the kingdom of Israel, of which was, sort of preparing the way for the Messiah that he comes out of. That's a different thing. That's not America. That's, that doesn't apply to these kingdoms. That's a different thing. I don't think there's a theological justification for applying principles of the way that God was establishing and upholding his nation.
Yeah, something else, like I'm completely uneducated on the Bible and Christianity, as I have probably over and over proven I am during this stream. But something else I'm wondering about, kind of to that point, I've heard over and over that like the Jews are like the chosen people by God. Like God has chosen them to live in this land, and he's like chosen this land for them, which would be like Israel, I guess. So where do Christians come in? Because like if that is part of the Bible, Christians aren't chosen people then. So I'm confused how to like square that circle. Because if they are chosen, how come Christianity is like built on top of it, and they have this New Testament, but they don't say, well, no, they're not chosen, right? Because that would be going against some of the Bible. I don't know. That confuses me a lot. If anybody knows the answer, post it in the comments. Because I honestly, like, I would like to know how to square that circle.
For his people.
Mm-hmm.
Or circle that square, whatever floats your boat.
And then trying to apply that even to modern day Israel, or definitely to any other kingdom. That just feels like that you can't, that dog won't hunt, as they say.
To the extent that we can make sense of God having like a chosen people and a chosen nation, it seems like America, despite what they think, might not be that. But even so, there is this...
Maybe not.
Please don't revoke my visa. The problem, the other thing is that like Jesus is presented as this fulfillment, and sort of fulfillment of, but also like in many ways like he sort of removes the need for certain kinds of Jewish practices. So like there's this idea that Jesus is kind of like the new Jewish temple. It used to be that you worship in this particular place and this is where you meet God, and now it's Jesus, and Jesus is everywhere anyway. And a similar kind of thing is happening here with like authority. I mean, the Jewish kingdom was waiting for the Messiah, who would be, their ultimate king. And when the ultimate king comes, he's not a political leader. He's the opposite of a political leader. So I think that the extent to which this is specifically a problem, like if somebody's listening in other words and says, oh, okay, yeah, but Rhett doesn't understand that, that in the Old Testament, political power was really important. This is just the problem of the relationship of the Old Testament to the New Testament.
Yeah.
Because I could say the same thing to a Christian, like, well, if your Jesus is doing this or that or that or that, then what about in the Old Testament where God's commanding this, that, or that, or this thing you're supposed to do that you're no longer supposed to do, or whatever? It's just the same problem revisited. As long as a Christian is willing to say that, yeah, Jesus changed the nature of God's relationship with earth.
Exactly.
The same thing's here. But okay, that's sort of out of the way.
So what does a Christian do?
What does a Christian do?
There's all really good points. I don't really have anything to add. I'm just kind of learning. If anyone thinks that this is like out of context, or if they know better, let me know in the comments. Or if you have like a link to something that somehow disproves or claims to disprove this, I'm all for watching it. So I guess if it's a link, probably might want to post in Discord. There's links to Discord in the descriptions and stuff. But yeah, I'm open to learning on all this stuff. It's certainly interesting to me. Like, obviously I don't like believe in Christianity, but I do find it interesting, and I think like some of the messages, especially like a lot of messages from like what the Bible says that Jesus said specifically, like I think a lot of those things are perfectly good and well, and certainly a lot of great messages. Some of the stories are very interesting, and great examples of like another take on life, I guess, and interesting philosophy. And yeah, I think that there is value in it. It's just I'm having trouble with some of the aspects of it. I think it's a Rhett, not a link. Oh no. I see what you did there. Again, I haven't seen I don't remember if I don't think I've seen like full episodes of their show before, but I have looked it up, and they apparently do have a Rhett and Link show.
So I think this is it's a great question, because I would say the extreme application of this perspective is abstaining from political involvement at all, and there are denominations that do that, and you have to respect that. This is a bit of, again, there's so many layers of this. There's a bit of a conundrum, considering that I don't think that any of the people who were reading this at the time thought that in the year 2025 the world would still be around.
That's right.
So I don't think that they envisioned 2,000 years of more kingdoms in what we have here. So we find ourselves in a situation that maybe some of this philosophy doesn't specifically apply because, you know, they were selling all their stuff, not because they were communists, but because they thought that
the
Jesus
world
was
was
coming.
gonna
Yeah,
end.
right.
Yeah. It becomes a bit easier to say, like, oh, who cares about the government, whatever. The world is about to end, which makes it a bit complicated because for a Christian, they kind of have to interpret this them not believing the world's about to end because it didn't.
Again, so I'm going with that. I'm just saying
Isn't it also that you like can't eat shellfish or something? Even though a lot of Christians now do.
I believe that they thought that Jesus was coming back.
Yeah.
And he didn't.
Sorry, in my mind that made sense as like a follow-up and like a response, but I can see now looking back on it how that might have been like that might have sounded completely random. I'm sorry. Okay, well, we'll just assume that made sense.
As a Christian, you believe that he wasn't intending that and that he knew that the world would still be around in 2025. What I'm saying is that it is a temptation because you start believing that the only way to get what God wants is for you to do it for him through human means. And I think that ultimately, when you feel like the people in power politically have to represent your worldview, it indicates that you're fearful that if that wasn't the case, that God couldn't do what he needed to do. And so I think this is a higher calling to a level of spirituality and commitment to the kingdom that does. I think that if you follow this wholeheartedly, I think it means that I'm not saying you don't vote, but I think that the idea that the answer is to install Christians into political office and that's where your hope lies and to work very tirelessly for that, it's not biblical. And I think ultimately, I don't think you can hold on to political power and Jesus at the same time. I think that if you're going to hold on to Jesus and you're holding on to this world, you've kind of got to drop that pursuit in the same way. And the crazy thing that happens as a result is
I think I kind of see what he's saying because it does seem like the limited knowledge I do have of like the teachings of Jesus, it seems like that would conflict with like having this power over others and like being authoritarian like that, which does seem like Christian nationalism wants to do, is that they want to like have this authoritarian kind of big government telling other people how to live. And it does seem like Jesus was a lot more like accepting than other people of his time, at least. So I do kind of see how it would be conflicting with this like sort of, especially with the way politics have sort of evolved to be, no matter how you turn it, it's corruption all the way down. And it's probably very difficult to be in politics and not be corrupt. I don't know that I believe that anybody in politics is like fully clean of corruption. I think it's basically I would say like 99% of politicians on some level have corruption going on. And if there's 1% that doesn't, I don't know who specifically those are. I like to think I can kind of guess, but still, like, I can never be sure. Rick now says, "Oh no, I ate shellfish today." Oh no. Blast for me and blast for you, and I'm just kidding. I don't think that has anything with blasphemy. But oh no. The point he's making seems right, but I think it's because of the nature of political power today, since it takes a certain ruthlessness or whatever. I can't speak. If it was like you just said what? Oh, yeah. It seems like we're on the same page there, because yeah, it absolutely seems like the kinds of politicians and the kinds of political plays and like just war in general and how like gruesome war has become, especially with like the world wars and how it just escalates and escalates, and how it, yeah, I don't know. Overall, it does, without fully knowing as much as, for instance, this guy, I kind of see where he's going with that, and that seems to make sense.
of this is you end up like I said, you end up aligning yourselves with people who do not represent, you know, the fruit of the Spirit. You've got people who are living in fear. I think this is another aspect of this, is that so much of the current political pursuit, or pursuit of political power, is based in fear. You've got people all across the United States mainlining Fox News.
But that's, I mean, if we take that back to kind of how Wilson talks about in debates, this fear that people are feeling, that's supposed to be like how things work, right? Because force doctrine, right? Force doctrine means everybody's like fearing the government beating them up, therefore they're forced into behaving. So, yay, fear. Yeah.
News and the like every single night. Like, give it to me. Give me that stuff that makes me fearful every single night. I got to be afraid of the brown people who are going to take my jobs, or, you know, I got to be afraid of the people who are going to come take my guns. I got to be afraid of the trans woman who might come into my daughter's restroom, right? And so, frankly, that
I can see how here, like, all of those are very, like, leftist talking points. So I think we kind of got to the part that Anson was talking about earlier. But, so I don't entirely agree or disagree with this particular point. I think he could have taken it in a more like neutral direction where it's not so obvious like which side of the political aisle he's on, like left versus right. But also, to be fair, the right are the ones like pushing Christian nationalism. Not all of them, but quite a few. And the left isn't. So I guess it kind of makes sense that these are kind of like leftist talking points, but at the same time, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I think about this particular point. I think he probably could have come up with more like neutralish examples. Because like, what exactly was it?
brown people who are going to take my jobs, or, you know,
Yeah, and I don't know if it's, I don't know if right-wing people specifically are worried about like brown people taking their jobs. I think they're more concerned about like their jobs being taken, whether that's something that like really is or isn't being, whether that really is or isn't like a valid fear. I think they're more concerned about like the job part, not like not like what color the person is that's taking their job. I think a lot fewer people are like racist like that than the left accuses them of being. So not saying that like racism doesn't exist or anything like that. Sure, I'm sure it does. But I think it's not as like widespread. I think the focus is way more on like, oh no, I'm scared my job is gonna go away, or oh no, I'm scared of them taking my guns. And as far as like taking the guns, I think that's a pretty valid fear, because I think governments would love nothing more than to disarm us. I mean, a lot of other governments have, and their people have less and less and less power every day as a consequence. So I don't know. I think the being afraid of the government taking our firearms, I think that's a legitimate fear, because they seem to want to do that. I mean, they have taken a lot of them. They seem to keep adding more and more and more and more limits. And if we see how other countries have done it, eventually that's the direction that it's going. So I don't think it's invalid to like fear, oh no, they're going to take our guns. I think that's a perfectly rational fear. It does come across as bias for sure. Dang, more bias stuff, not. I appreciate that. Yeah, so I don't know. Again, some of these seem, I do see how, like, if you're on the right, these seem like, okay, he's, crazy leftist. But I think even if his examples here aren't great, I think his other points made sense. And again, if the context that they're in somehow wildly changes it, I'd like to know. But from what I've seen, from what I heard here, I think like his stories from the Bible, like the quotes that he had, they make sense as like why somebody who wants to be more like Jesus wouldn't want to have political power over others. I could see how they would still like participate like everybody else and like vote in kind of a democratic style government, but they wouldn't like strive to like force others into doing things their way kind of thing. So I don't know. I'm rambling too much again. I'm so sorry.
I got to be afraid
Let's
of
finish
the
this.
people who are going to come take my guns. I got to be afraid of the trans woman who might come into my daughter's restroom, right? And so
I'm not gonna cover that topic because I know YouTube doesn't like it. But I know that there are people that are, transformed, that are perfectly great people, and they're perfectly fine, and they're, if anything, we could be more worried about them being more of like identity to themselves than anybody else. But I also know that there are some people out there that are like using that identity to go out there and do harm and like sort of wear it like a costume, and therefore it gives other people that are legitimately like that kind of a bad name, because people who are bad people in other ways, like related to kids and whatever, they go and like take on this identity to protect themselves, and I think it harms others who are genuinely in that way. I don't know if I'm making sense here. I'm trying to kind of not be so direct about what I'm saying here. Um, but I, basically, I'm trying to say that there are some bad actors that are kind of ruining it for other people who are just trying to be themselves and live their own life and not try to do anything to other people. Like they're just everybody else a little different. And then there's people who are taking advantage of that label and how we want to protect those people and giving some of them a bad name. So I could see how people like on the right could have this fear because of those bad actors that have been like wearing this costume and doing bad things. But I don't think it's fair to other people who just happen to be different. So I don't know. That's a complicated one. So I'm gonna leave that right there.
frankly, that whole thing pisses me off because I feel like an entire generation has been stolen from us, because you have what could be older, wiser people who have perspective, but yet they have been completely captivated by fear and they tap into it every single night. Like that pisses me off, that a generation has been stolen from us. But what if, this is a hypothetical, what if?
And fear is how the government controls us too. Like the more that we are afraid, the more that we give up our rights. Although supposedly we don't have rights anyway, according to Andrew. So what is there to give up? Might as well just do fear, fear, fear. Nothing to lose. But I do think that the more scared that people are, the more we try to get security by giving up freedoms, but we get neither. We lose the security and we lose the freedoms, and basically we get tricked like that. More and more every year. There's always something to be afraid of. There's always the government telling us that somebody's out to get us and we gotta spend a ridiculous amount of money on weapons and surveillance programs and all kinds of creepy ass shit. Sorry. Everyone loses, absolutely. I'm not even gonna get on that rant because that is so frustrating.
Christians in America were not mostly known for wanting to have political power and all of the things that come along with that and all the fear that that is based in. And instead, they were cool, calm, and collected because they trusted that God was accomplishing his purpose, and they were busying themselves with the work of Jesus, being the hands and feet of Jesus, feeding the poor, caring for the orphan, caring for the elderly, caring for the widow.
I have no issue with any of those like good things that Christians can do, like all of this caring for other people stuff. That sounds wonderful. Like again, there are some aspects of Christianity that are absolutely lovely. Like these are great examples, and these aren't things that the government does well. These are things that the government says, like, oh yeah, we're gonna take care of the poor people, but it really just ends up making things worse. So I think these like individual, more like via your church or via other like private organizations. I think that's probably a better, more like direct way of helping, rather than pushing like funds and resources through 500 levels of bureaucracy where maybe some crumbs fall out at the end for the people who really need it. While if you're going like direct person to person, that's really helping way more. So yeah, I agree with that too. I don't know. There's not much I'm disagreeing with here.
It seems to me that they don't believe that that would actually do anything. That level of spiritual commitment to being like, I'm going to be about the kingdom, and I'm going to trust that God will accomplish his will through me in that.
And that
I just think it's a lack of faith. I think it kind of goes back.
I was about to say, I was just about to say that too. It does sound like a lack of faith in God. If you feel like you need to like take over governments in a way that Jesus didn't want to do, at least from the quotes that we've heard today, it does seem like you just don't think God can do it in his own mysterious ways. Like he's not like capable enough or something, like, and he needs you to go and like beat other people over the head into submission. What happened to he works in mysterious ways and he has a plan and all of that? Like if you, yeah, that's a wonderful point. Like if you feel like you need to involve yourself into this like a corrupt government thing and trying to say that, oh well, if it's all Christians then it's not going to be corrupt, that's ridiculous. Government's always corrupt. And trying to involve yourself in this like monster thing just because you don't trust that God will take care of it, that does seem like you just don't have enough belief. That makes sense. I don't know. That makes sense to me.
We come full circle, is that there's not a real faith that God can accomplish his purpose apart from.
And that's something else that I was saying earlier. It seems like Andrew Wilson, when he argues for like Christian nationalism, how his arguments are more like utilitarian. Why not make arguments that come from like Jesus, that are based on Christianity? If you're not grounding your arguments in Christianity and you're not trusting God to run the world the way that it's supposed to be ran according to whatever God wants to do and whatever plan that God has, it seems like you don't trust God enough to take care of things, and you don't trust in Christianity enough to base your anything, to actually ground your arguments in Christianity. If you have to use all these utilitarian arguments and you don't have any grounding in Christian ones, well, what are we doing here? This is like, it's like wearing this creepy like Christian costume while doing everything atheist. And like, what's the point? I'm not understanding.
You putting the 10 Commandments up in every courthouse? Really? Like you really think that that's what's going to do it?
Yeah. If you're anything like me, then getting the right kind of...
Okay. That seems like that's the end of this clip. I know that there's a fuller there's a full longer interview, but I think that's probably about all that I can do tonight. I don't want to... The whole thing is a little too much for me, especially since I do kind of want to finish this one here. But it is getting pretty late. This one's only like 20 minutes left. I'll try not to pause every like 5 seconds.
Creator prompt challenge is Trump good for Christian nationalism?
I think Trump is horrible for Christian nationalism. I think his personal life, he has demonstrated that he will not live within Christian ethics in any way, shape, or form, more so than any president in recent history. And I think both culturally and politically, he has moved our country farther away from Christian ethics than any president in recent memory. I can go into any one of those three
Can I
areas.
ask you a question first?
Sure.
Do you like Christian nationalism?
No, but...
So then why wouldn't you want Trump to be bad for it?
Let me answer. So...
Okay.
there's a lot about Christianity that I don't particularly like, but there's also a lot that I do like. I really like the aspects of, love thy neighbor and helping the hungry, the sick, the poor, and all those aspects.
You like the hippie Jesus?
Yeah, I like the hippie Jesus shit. Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's wonderful.
Why did he say that? Like, oh, like the hippie Jesus, like that's bad. Like that's somehow, like, oh, like that stuff over there, like that doesn't apply to what he believes or something. Like, what's going on there? And like calling it like, I don't know, that seemed like disdain for those aspects of Christianity, and I don't get it. I'm very confused by that reaction.
I really like that aspect of Christianity. And do you disagree that that's a core aspect of Christian ethics is feeding the hungry?
No, I don't disagree. I just think that in context, you're only going after one dimension.
Sure, but I'll just approach with the one dimension.
Yeah, so what I think you guys do is you treat Christianity as a buffet, and the things which agree.
Everybody treats Christianity as a buffet.
The thing that you guys think in present day matches your current liberal progressive worldview, that's what Jesus is going to reflect. And if that...
It's funny he says that. Yeah, it's Guru hippie Jesus. Yeah, it's funny he says that, because this whole like picking and choosing what you like out of Christianity and things that just happen to align with what you otherwise believe, that sounds like what he's doing. Like, to me, that seems like his thing. So it's interesting that he's like, it's almost like he's projecting on this other person exactly what he does. It's the mug. I spent a lot of money on this. I got it once in a while. I remember to drink my, what is it? What are we pretending is in here, like a tea or something? Or I guess ideally I would have some coffee in here because it's so late. But I don't drink coffee. Right.
Progressive worldview changes, then that's what Jesus is going to reflect.
So I think he's opposed to the hippie Jesus shit, which is absolutely a part of Christian ethics. The hating gay people, maybe that's
well, let's just start
within
there.
his purview.
Isn't
but
Trump?
I'm going to ignore the hating gay people. What? Let's move on to like the core part.
So you don't think Trump hates gay people?
I honestly don't know. I don't think he's an empty vessel of values. So it's hard to tell.
So no, he doesn't hate gay people?
I really don't.
1 second. All right, sorry about that. You missed the cat already. Which cat? Was it the Christmas tree cat or the real fluffy kitty cat? It would be nice if he doesn't usually go up on my keyboard. That one night when I was live, that he got up on the table. He doesn't do that often, so I think it would be kind of cute if he spent like more time on the desk in view, because he's very cute, but he doesn't like to do that much. Both. Yeah. All right. Let's try to get a little bit more here of this, and probably call it a night in maybe like 15-20 minutes or so. And actually, I do kind of want to have a snack. So let me see if I can change it to where it looks. I like this one. 1 second. Because I don't want to just like black out the corner webcam box. I think that. Oh, is it this one? Oh, it's this one. Let me copy this because it would look kind of funny. So I want to do this other view. I don't use this view that much. Oh, that's all. I'm gonna move it down. Yeah, I don't use this that much, but I think I do want to do this one view for just a few minutes while I eat, and I'll have to like mute and unmute myself because I gotta have a quick snack because my tummy is making the rumblies that only hands can satisfy. Where's the thing? Where's the oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Okay, here it is, this thing. Okay. We don't need that. All right. Okay.
You don't know.
You just don't know.
Well, he says both. He says two things constantly. Sometimes he's very pro LGBT, and other times he isn't. And I don't know what's in his heart.
Okay, well, you can move to whatever you want then.
But yeah,
it's
sure.
your prompt.
Cutting USAID. USAID is a program that feeds the hungry, gives water to the thirsty. It cures people of real debilitating diseases. The Lancet recently came out with a study.
Does this all by itself, or does it do it with my money?
Yeah, $67 a year.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. You're just talking right now about the AIDS funding in Africa and this type of thing, right?
No, it's way more than that.
Yeah,
malaria is a really deadly disease that kills children.
Yep.
And right now, children are dying because of the cuts to USAID. There are children that are dead right now because Trump cut USAID. You talk about the importance of family.
Yeah.
There's a young woman. Her name was Yama Freeman. She was 21 years old. She was pregnant with her third child. She started hemorrhaging blood. The villagers called the local clinic to transport her there, but the gasoline came from USAID and they couldn't pick her up. The villagers tried to carry her there, but she died on her way there and she left her 2 children orphaned.
That's depressing. I think that there are a lot of things that USAID did that I'm not a fan of, including like a lot of like regime change operations and things like that. And they had a section of that did really help people, and it didn't even cost us that much. So I think unfortunately, what I think happened there was they ended up breaking it up and then taking all the things that we don't like that it did and letting other like government agencies handle all of the like naughty regime change stuff. So all of that stuff is still happening, but it seems like they took away some of the like actually good things that it did to like rub it in her face and be like, oh, like we got rid of it, so like look, we don't do that anymore. And it's I just I think it's icky that it's people obviously didn't want the like annoying regime change like creepy stuff. I don't think most people had a problem with spending like $10 for some malaria meds for a kid. Like I think I would prefer that we kind of focused internally, but if it doesn't cost us that much and we're already doing it and we spend way more on war, again, like as far as cutting aid, that's on the bottom of the list, like right next to like education and roads. Like there are way more things that are way more expensive and way more like people don't want to pay for them way more than like malaria medicine or whatever, even if it's foreign aid. Like why don't we just start cutting all of the evil, creepy, expensive stuff? And if there's a few things left at the end of the day and our society changes enough where these things could be covered by private means, maybe eventually we'll get to the malaria medicine and education and everything else. Like we just don't need to start there. And it didn't go down well like that. Yeah. I was so excited at first when they were talking about getting rid of USAID, but they did it in such a horrible way where nothing like nothing bad went away, and the little good that it did go away. So, oops.
That destroyed a family. We could have saved her life. Isn't that in the teachings of Jesus? I have a Orthodox pastor, reverend, who said that the cuts to USAID are
An Orthodox
anti-Christian.
reverend?
So he's a Orthodox doctor reverend.
He's a doctor reverend?
Yeah, he's a doctor and he's a reverend.
And he's Orthodox?
Yes. That's why I read his bio.
I don't think so. But
But
go ahead.
anyways, and the Vatican Church has said that the cuts to USAID are in opposition to the teachings of Jesus, and of course they are. It is
No,
literally
that's not true
feeding
anyway.
the poor, the
Yeah.
hungry.
So let's dive into this. USAID is not actually feeding anybody. What's
Yeah, it is.
happening is the government is by force taking money from people and then giving it to other people. That's what's actually happening, right?
So the Lancet
Can we
estimates.
start? Hang on. Can we start with the facts? Isn't the facts of the matter that
Taxpayers' dollars
what's-
pay for
yeah,
USAID,
that-
yes,
that's
correct.
what's going on,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, of course.
Now, how do you reconcile a conflict between the idea of theft from one group to another group, and then at the same time the conflict of, but you deserve to have things stolen from you so that we can benefit this group over here? How do you reconcile that in Christian ethics?
It is so unbelievably cheap to help these people out. It is $67 a year per taxpayer.
Then why don't you liberals just go pay for it?
I have been. As soon as USAID was cut, I started donating more money to
So
organizations.
then
to
it
help
sounds
out.
like we
Although,
don't actually need the program then?
Actually, yes, we do, because
Why?
the government has diplomatic and a bunch of resources that private NGOs don't have.
Yeah,
and able
fucking
to
right.
get into
I bet
these
you all that.
areas.
I bet you all that aid is distributed through NGOs like the Red Cross
Yeah, they
and
help
the
out.
Salvation Army. No, they don't help out. That's the whole fucking program. Guarantee it. They're using NGOs like the Red Cross, Salvation
Yeah, they
Army,
contract- we're
others
a
like
capitalist
this.
country.
It's
We
going to be.
ca- we
Hang on, bro.
contract it
Hang on.
out.
My turn. It's going to be a bunch of NGOs, by the way, who are going to be paying administrative costs, by the way, to all their people off those tax dollars. Are going to be making a profit, even though there's nonprofit with millionaires at the top of the nonprofit. And what's actually going on is that a bunch of NGOs are the ones who are distributing all that aid. You're saying that you can't send all that aid to the same NGOs? You can. You just want them to take it from me. And then what you want to do is come to me and say, "How dare you? You fucking monster! How dare you not send all of your money to the poor AIDS kids in Africa?" Let me ask you a question.
Of course.
Where the fuck were you? Where the fuck were you people when I was underneath my car, right? And it was snowing outside, and I had $2 in my pocket. And I didn't know how I was going to get to fucking work. My heater was broken,
We
and
should
I
help
thought
people
to
here, too.
myself,
We should
"Oh
help people here,
God,
too.
I don't think I'm going to
We
make
should
it
help
through this
people here,
one."
too.
I didn't see you
Absolutely.
fucking nowhere.
I
didn't see
I
any
am
of you
so in
fuckers
favor-
anymore.
Okay, so because you were in trouble at some point, and these specific people probably didn't even know you needed help, didn't help you, that means other people don't deserve help. I like the argument better that, like, and it's theft to take your money and give it to others, even though, sure, it's not a lot, and sure, it's for a good cause. But again, there's so much more theft and such, like, for such worse things that is taken from us, that we can like live with this until we get rid of all the other theft that is being taken from us for way worse things. Like, I can live with this until the worst things are removed. But the argument that just because they didn't help you, now these other people don't deserve, like, your help, that's not very Christian or nationalist. That's kind of cringe and selfish, but okay.
Or
Let me
expanding
tell you-
social
let me
programs.
tell you another thing.
Hey, all right,
Hang on,
I'm
let me
totally in
finish.
favor of. Hang on,
Let me finish.
All right, you filibuster.
I'm not
Fine enough.
filibustering. I'm right
All
at
right,
the
one
finish
last
line.
point, and I'm taking over.
Okay, you fuckers were nowhere. All you're
I would
doing.
love to help people out like
all you're
that.
doing.
Love to help people out
Okay,
like
great.
that.
You're buying my lunch. All you're doing is pointing out, right, that it's perfectly from your view. It's acceptable for me. I have to pay for every single thing for every other nation.
I never said that.
Then why
It
am
was
I
never
morally?
my argument.
Why am I morally?
Don't straw man me.
Why am I morally obligated to pay for this, but not morally obligated to pay for all forms of suffering?
I'm saying that this is at the center of the bullseye of Jesus' teachings. This is like, so right now we have.
That would apply to all suffering.
Hang on. Right now we have a warehouse
Yeah.
in Southern Africa that is filled with ivermectin. Yes, that ivermectin, and is about to expire. It cures river blindness, which is this parasite that gets in people's eyes and makes them
COVID?
go blind. It does not cure COVID, but it does cure river blindness.
Anyway, go
It is
ahead.
going to expire. Is locked behind a warehouse, and NGOs are coming like, "Hey, you shut this down. Can you please just like give us this so we can distribute it and stop people from going blind?" Which was one of the miracles that Jesus performed. And we're refusing to distribute it. We're going to burn it.
Yeah, but-
we are going to burn medication
okay,
that will stop children from going blind out.
Is that true? That's messed up. Like, if it's gonna expire anyway, and like ivermectin, it's like a very cheap medicine to make too. It's not like you're costing, like you're afraid that people aren't gonna buy the medicine for curing their river blindness on their own, and like you have to destroy it in order to make money for the like pharmaceutical or whatever. Like it's a cheap medicine. So yeah, if that's the case, that's so messed up. McNeil says, if we're going to be robbed, then I guess I'd want the money to go to starving children. Yeah, like I agree with the big if. Like, unfortunately, we are being robbed. Like, then might as well like not focus on the little things like that and start complaining about the bigger war spending. Like, what are we doing here, arguing about this?
Out of spite. How is that in alignment
so
with
I'm just
Christian
gonna grant,
ethics?
I'm just going to grant all of this. Right?
It's true.
And
so you don't have to grant it. It's facts.
And just point this out, right? Why am I morally?
I hate it when he does that. He'll like, oh, I'm gonna grant this. I'm gonna grant that. Like he's doing like the other person a favor, even when there's nothing to indicate that it's like something that needs to be granted. Like if something is just true, you're not granting anything. He does that so much. I find that so annoying.
Obligated to pay $67 to AIDS kids in Africa or whatever aid that USAID is giving, but I'm not morally obligated to give all of my money and earnings to any form of suffering which is out there.
I mean, it's kind of a weird maximalist argument. I think it is really cheap to save a lot of lives, and it is.
You're not answering my question.
I think as a good Christian,
do you realize
you should want to feed hungry people and cure people of blindness.
And guess what?
And
there's hungry people here who are blind who need my money that I can give to my church.
Why can't we do the church and the government can both provide?
Do you think I have endless amounts of money?
And USAID.
Do you think the government? Do you think the government's going to stop at $67?
It was a third of 1%. Yes.
Actually, I think like he is pretty rich now. There's people paying what, like over $3,000 per stream. If you make like $3,000 a day, you can probably do like a lot of charity. You can help like so many American people. If like, sure, you don't want to help foreigners, but you can help like all of the American people. You could probably help like a whole small town of poor starving children. I doubt that he does, but you know, it is what it is.
It was a third of 1%.
Okay, let me ask you this. I'll just ask you a quick question. I just want you to actually answer
100% of the
If I have $500,000 in the bank, somebody gets a hold of me and says, hey man, I need a new heart. It's exactly $500,000. Am I obligated to give it to him?
I don't think you're obligated.
Why?
I just think you'd be a good person if you did.
Yeah, okay, but there's no obligation?
All right, hang on. One more point on this.
Wait.
What would Jesus do?
What makes me a bad person by not giving it to him?
I think it doesn't necessarily make you a bad person.
Okay, so then how does this make me a bad person?
Look, it is so easy.
I think Jesus would. I think if Jesus had $500,000 in the bank like Andrew does, and somebody needed a heart to live, and they came to him and they're like, "Hey, I need this heart to live." Oh no! I was like, sorry, I'm coming back on a camera there, and I was like, "Oh, it's broken." But I think Jesus would help the person if the Jesus of the Bible existed in the way that they have described him. He's so charitable, grinning facts. Absolutely. Very charitable. Okay. There's like, what, 10 minutes of this left? I am kind of getting to where I'm so over it, but for the sake of completion, I might as well.
To save a life.
You're not answering my fucking question. If that's a neutral...
Calm down, jeez.
That's a neutral that I don't give him the $500,000. How is it not a neutral for me not to give the $67?
You don't have to. I just think it's in line with Christian teachings, and I think the Vatican agrees with me. I think the Orthodox Church agrees with me, and I think
well, I guess the Vatican can go fucking pay for it then. They got plenty of money, don't they? They got plenty of money. They go pay for it.
They get help from USAID to get into places where they couldn't alone because we are a government.
Oh yeah, NGOs could never go give people AIDS medication. Give me a break with this shit.
I mean, to airdrop food into places that just
yeah, there's no way an NGO could hire a pilot to airdrop food.
You
need the government
military
for it.
Planes. Yeah.
Why do you need military planes to airdrop food?
Because they have the storage capacity to actually
so
do
do
airdropping.
private aircraft.
I mean, do you know how expensive that is? I mean, they can use.
Yeah, it's really expensive. I agree. So don't use my money for it.
That are not dropping tanks can drop food instead. This is the teachings of Jesus Christ.
That we need to drop food. That we need to drop food from
C-130s. The only part you care about Christian ethics is hating gay people.
I get it.
But when it comes to feeding the poor, when it comes to curing people of blindness, you all of a sudden all your Christian ethics vanishes. Where is it? Where's the teachings of Jesus here?
I love the fact.
What would Jesus do?
He's very like animated, but I kind of get it because Andrew's been like screaming and cussing at him too. So I mean, I get that he's like upset, but just like when people get like that intense, I get a little like off put by it, or put off by it, or is off put a word anyway, something like that. But I mean, on one end, I agree that like stealing our money, even if it's supposedly for like a good cause, is bad. I would rather people do like private charity. But on the other hand, like, is this really like worth it? Like, is it worth dying on this hill? Like, why not just be like, I want to be more like Jesus, and I want to like stop funding wars so that all these children aren't dying overseas or whatever. Like, why not aim for something like that? But whatever.
Yeah, what would Jesus do? What would Jesus do?
I'll tell you what. Are you familiar with the concept of the Trinity?
Yes.
Then Jesus nuked Sodom and Gomorrah. Now get off the fucking stage.
Yeah.
What a dick. Like he's got to have this like power play of like, oh, I get out of here now. He's got to have this like finishing move and like, oh, now you go. I'm the boss here. I'm gonna cuss you out. Get out of here. I own the stage. I've got the spotlight on me. I'm famous. You do what you're told, little man.
Thank you, gentlemen. The prompt is: the founding fathers did not intend for this to be a solely Christian nation.
Solely Christian nation.
Or I'll make it more broad, so contentious. A Christian nation.
Okay, got it.
Okay, I guess I'll start. So basically, when you look at the way the founding fathers have framed a lot of things, and if you look at their private diaries, they basically want.
He got his TikTok moment. Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised if they clip that at some point.
Wanted this country to be founded under, I wouldn't say a secular perspective, but the idea that it was supposed to be like specifically, oh, this is a Lutheran nation or whatever, was not under their purview. They believed in the justness of laws. You could almost say, this is what was argued, a theistic rationalist kind of thing, where they prioritized rationalism.
Let's start with something else. What's a Christian nation to you?
So
I see where this is going. So it seems like this guy kind of knows some of his stuff, like he knows some stuff, and he's like, oh, okay, well, I can't have him, talking and sounding smart like he knows things, so we gotta, okay, we're not doing that, and we're gonna do what I want to do, so you stop doing that, we're gonna do my thing, and my thing is asking the simple questions, and we're gonna try to just like deconstruct things to an absurd level now. That's usually where these things go. I could be wrong. It could go in a different direction. But usually when he starts like, oh, we're not going to get into like some of the real arguments or anything. We're going to start asking, oh, what is this? Oh, what is that? Oh, what is this? And it's usually like a barrage of questions going into like to infinitely simplify something to a point where somebody's like, well, just because. So that's usually how that trick works. But I don't know. Maybe that's not going to work out like that.
Christian nation would be a nation that is explicitly in law, or what is it, de jure Christian. Like it says in the, like, we are a Christian nation square. Like it's written in the whatever.
I guess in this, semantics are important. When I think of Christian nation, I think about the people groups which are the ones that make up the nation and are wanted in the nation. And so my argument to you would be, I agree that there was a compromise for a separation where it wasn't even a separation, but just the idea that the federal government couldn't make a national religion. That's true. But that's because the 10th Amendment was there. And the idea was that the prospective states could impose their own religious virtues in the state, and did.
Well, it depends what you're looking at. If you look at the writings of like Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, at one point Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, Jefferson was, yes, I agree with you.
And Adams also agreed with him. They have writings back and forth.
But do you realize that there was a a conflict between anti-federalists and federalists, and that they were consistently arguing over these topics. But even if even if you go back to a lot of the Enlightenment thinkers, that a lot of them even said that you can't really have a moral nation unless it's a Christian nation.
No, they said you couldn't have a moral nation without religion. They didn't specify. I mean, if you look at Jefferson,
which religion?
Jefferson said that one of the most I forgot the exact word, but basically one of the most religious or orthodox texts that writes like the laws of man perfectly, paraphrasing, was the introduction to the Hindu Shastras. And so just going on that,
so he wanted a Hindu nation, bro?
He just wanted a religious, basically.
You're talking about one specific founder.
Yeah, wasn't it like a religious people, and something else? I think it was, there was another word to describe the people besides religious, but I forgot what it was. If I'm thinking of the same thing that they're talking about. But yeah, I mean, if they meant Christian, I think they would have said Christian. I don't see why they couldn't be specific enough to say Christian if they really meant only Christian. So I don't know. It's not like they weren't aware that other religions existed and people migrated and might want to go over there at some point. It seems like the way that they wrote out our government and the way that our country functions, it seems like they kept in mind a lot of things that could change over time and accounted for, well, the best they could. They accounted for things changing and it being 200 years later and things are different. So I think if they really meant only Christian, I think they would have said only Christian, and I don't think they would have literally put in writing that we shall not make a law again to have a single religion or something. I think that they could have just left that out too. I don't know, to go as far as to put that in writing and put that as number one in the amendments. I don't know, all of these things are it's not adding up to the way that he's Wilson here is describing it. What do you mean by the? I still can't believe that. I haven't seen Jordan Peterson in a while. Is he okay? I haven't been following though, so. But I heard that he was in the hospital or something a while ago. I don't know if that's still the case.
Here,
but
okay. I was talking
I still can't believe
about Enlightenment thinkers themselves.
I still can't believe that was a question that he asked. I think he was he asked that question about every single word in the sentence. Was it an Alex O'Connor interview or was that somebody else that he was talking to? Anyway.
John Locke, who said you shouldn't even have people who voted who weren't Christian.
Well, if you look at things I believe it was in Virginia, they passed the Religious Freedom Act, which again Jefferson had.
At the state level?
At the state level. Well, that was before, I'm trying to remember if it was before or after the Articles of Confederation. But once they created the Constitution, they made it clear that there was no one religion that was supposed to be the dominant force in society. And almost Jefferson, Adams, Ben Franklin, Washington,
here's what's really funny when you say this, though. When you say... So the problem was a problem of denomination. The problem was they couldn't, because Protestants had different denominations, they knew at the national level, if they imposed a denomination, it would lead to all-out war, okay? It would lead to just a massive fight among the states, especially as they're moving away from the Articles of Confederation, okay? So yes, it's true at the national level, they weren't going to impose one denomination of Christianity. They left it to the states. The states, though, definitely were. And the idea that our founders didn't want the majority of the population to be and stay Christians, absurd. They
absolutely did not. They did not.
They gave me an advocation of a single founder who said that they wanted to import non-Christians in the nation. One.
I mean, Ben Franklin said that.
Ben Franklin didn't say that.
He didn't say that specifically, but he basically said that, there's two. There's Ben Franklin and John Adams. John Adams bragged about how welcoming they were to Jews and how he's proud to have them in his country. I always get them mixed up. But Ben Franklin said that, if the Imam of Constantinople came to America, he would more than be welcome to find a pulpit there. I mean, clearly he wants freedom of religion, not one specific.
All right, sorry about that. That's better. Of course, this mask thing, it gets annoying because you have there's a single hair and it's just it's touching my face. I had to get it off. I try to keep all my hair up and out of the way, but sometimes you never know. A stray sometimes comes through and you can feel just that one right there and you're oh, I can't have that.
specific religion to
So you
dominate
think
over the
that
social
you
class.
think that the founding fathers who owned slaves and the founding fathers, the very people who were making the advocation, and the fact that all these different states had their own state religion, that the view of the time was not that this nation should be filled mostly with white people who were Christian?
Well, most states didn't have a specific Christian religion. Some made.
Oh no, I should have known that was. Here's the worst time to go bald. I should have known it was gonna go towards the bald thing again. I should have. I don't know why I didn't expect it, but damn it, I should have. Should have known better.
You know, we looked that up after that was told to me. It turns out that was wrong. 9 of them did. So I was right.
Well, you had to be a Christian, but they didn't even specify. And back then, like with their conception of religion, if you have like a Presbyterian and you have like an Anglican, those are basically different religions to them.
Yes,
so,
agreed.
So
But they were still under the purview of Christianity.
They did not see it that way. They beat Quakers out of Rhode Island.
They still didn't like.
They
listen,
whipped people.
They still
just
had a preference towards those people over
then
other
why did they
religions
chase
and
them out?
races.
How come they're like, oh, it's cool if these
They
Presbyterians
chased out everyone who wasn't them.
Exactly. So clearly, the founding fathers, when they drafted the Constitution, believed that having any kind of one single dominant religion in the country would lead to social unrest. They all placed priority over logic and reason over biblical thought.
So let me ask you this.
I mean,
Jefferson
even said.
Hang on. I'll grant it. Let's pretend that this entire audience is all founding fathers.
So all granted is so annoying.
Okay. And you asked him this question. You looked at him and you said, would you prefer that we had different denominations of Christianity at the state level where you guys could, decide that on your own, right? Or would you prefer that we had tons of different religions in a hodgepodge and everybody could just come in and they had total freedom to practice it everywhere?
The second one, obviously. I mean, when you look at their rankings, like when you talk about, come on, hey, eyes up, okay, you're just gonna go sleep. Okay, cool, I'm just gonna monologue. But basically, when you look at Washington,
I love this guy. He's great. I think he's like a good opponent for Wilson, because it's really obvious. Like when Wilson tries to do his tricks, like it's very obvious when he's saying, "Oh, well, I'll grant it." He was just trying to make him shut up. He wasn't actually granting anything. He wasn't taking what this guy says seriously. Like every single tactic that he has used throughout, specifically this guy's conversation, it has been very obviously to just get him to stop talking. He's been like dismissive every time, and he wants him to stop talking. And here he's like, I don't think he's frustrated because he's like, I think the idea he's trying to portray is like, oh, I'm so frustrated because like I'm just making such a good point and he's just not getting it, so I'm just so frustrated. Oh, how could he? I think he's frustrated because like the guy just has a lot to say and he can't get him to shut up. It's kind of funny.
Tim's writings, he specifically did not advocate for any kind of social dominance. He specifically avoided answering preachers who pressed him on whether or not say he himself was a Christian. So he doesn't even want to profess to himself that he's a Christian.
Oh, that explains how he's been like he's able to not. I think he's chewing like nicotine gum the whole time. Because I was like, wait, why would somebody like chew gum while in a debate? Because wouldn't that be like annoying having something in your mouth while you're trying to talk the whole time? But I think if that's nicotine gum, I think that makes a lot of sense. Because it looks like they're indoors, so he can't sit there and chain smoke. So he's got to have like, I don't know, like what would happen? I mean, like, I don't care if people smoke. I used to smoke, and it's like not that big of a deal to me. It does seem like he can't even like function a short amount of time, like an hour or something, without smoking. So like if there's ever like an apocalypse, like isn't there supposed to be an apocalypse in Christianity? Like there's supposed to be, I think there's supposed to be apocalypse. There's apocalypse, sort of. Oh, sorry, I'll stop playing with that. There are apocalypse type, like, what is it called? For some reason, I can't think of the word. It's late. Like people keep saying that there's going to be an apocalypse of different kinds, like different religions, like foretelling that there's going to be one. So if there is ever a real, like even small apocalypse, like what if you get like snowed in? Like, cause that has happened in Texas where a bunch of people got snowed in and they were like electricity was down, you couldn't go anywhere. Like, what if that happens and you run out of cigarettes and like I don't know. It seems really risky to be like on that level. Like you can't spend an hour talking to people without like having like a constant input of nicotine. I don't know. I don't get it, but it is what it is. Just a little, I don't know. It's a little strange and concerning, but again, like, I used to smoke, so I don't think, like, smoking itself is the end of the world, but if you're, like, that on edge, like, you can't even function for an hour, that's concerning. It does seem rough, the smoking. Yeah, I mean, I know he's got his whole meaning, like, "Oh, smoky man bad, smoky man bad," and that's, like, his meme thing that all of his supporters parrot to, like, I don't know. I think if it wasn't if it didn't bother him, I don't think it would become a meme like that he's constantly repeating. Even,
You have
like, a lot of people that don't even, like, think it's, like, such like, a bad thing, that like, "Oh, he's smoking, it's, like, bad." Like, I don't care, it's concerning, but it's not like, "Oh, no, that's, like, makes you a bad person or something." I don't think smoking makes you a bad person or anything. But the way that he's, like, portraying it, like, if anybody even mentions it, he's like, "Smoky man bad, smoky man bad." And, like, the voices thing, I find that all of that's so obnoxious and annoying and childish when he does, like, the voices where he's, like, pretending to be, like, somebody stupid. He does, like, the stupid voice, and it's so annoying.
Gouverneur Morris, the dude who I believe that's his last name. He had his first name was Gouverneur. I remember that because it's weird.
Oh my god, that okay, he's talking really fast. I don't think we can do 1.5 here. I think there's only, like, 3 minutes left. I think we can do it at normal speed for the rest of the way.
Just want to make sure I got this right, though. You think if our founders were all in a room and you asked them if they would rather have a hodgepodge
because they believe,
of global religions moving into the various states, that's what they would want.
The point is that they believed that rationalism.
I can't even take you seriously, bro.
They believed rationalism took.
He's not even letting him talk. Like, he's doing everything he possibly can to not let him finish a sentence.
Priority over any specific dogma or any specific creed. They believe that Enlightenment thought was the primary driver of thought. That they believed that came first. They believed Jefferson rewrote his own Bible because he took out all the
Jefferson was
stuff.
not. Listen, first of all, the Constitution had thousands of contributors.
Yeah, but some are more important than others.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
No offense.
And the thing is, like with Jefferson,
hey, I think you're a cool dude, but I wouldn't say he's contributing to this debate. You're important, but not like the main guy in this debate right here.
Do you understand the difference when you're talking about contributors here with Enlightenment thought, things like this? That they prioritize. Why did they prioritize white?
Because they were like racist dudes from the 1700s. That was just kind of standard fare back then. White guys were just kind of racist.
Why did they prioritize that?
Probably because they believed that other people weren't people.
Yeah, because they thought that other people who weren't them, right, and followed different kind of practices and things like this.
But then how come you have people like Ben Franklin saying that
Yeah, I don't think that they were like. I think the whiteness thing wasn't because they were like, oh well, we gotta have homogeneity because that's gonna be like a homogeneous population is gonna be a more peaceful one or whatever. I don't think it was that deep. I think like that long ago, people really were just racist. Like, I don't think it's any deeper than that. People used to think that people that weren't like them were like subhuman, and we learned we know better than that now. But at the time, like, most of the world was like thought like that. Like, people didn't like to associate people that looked different from them. So, and it wasn't just white people, like all kinds of like different races used to be racist. We know better now. Like, people aren't like that anymore. So for the most part. But I don't think it was that deep. Like, they were like, oh well, it's because the homogenous population and this and that. Like, I really don't think that they thought it through like that. I think they were just like everybody else back in the day, where they were all, most of them were just pretty racist. So I keep saying just. I can't stop. It's late.
Do you think that you can't
could come in here?
Do you think that you
can't
can't have one?
Clearly, he didn't want an established
religion. You can't have one
religion. I mean,
he's not even listening at all to the guy. He's like intent on doing what he always does and like try to dominate the conversation. That's all that's going on here. He's not even listening.
Let me respond. Hold on. I just let you monologue.
They're not
My
even
turn.
Christian.
No, you didn't. You interrupted every other word. What are you talking about? Letting monologue. I was watching the whole time. That's not what happened. You weren't letting anything.
Even because
Holy
they all
shit! I
disagree.
just let you monologue. Let me
Okay,
respond.
all right, fine.
Let me respond.
didn't.
So you saying one founding father or two founding fathers,
8
right?
or 9.
9 of them.
Okay, I would say 8. Like 8 of the most key founding fathers.
And you think all of them wanted a hodgepodge of religions?
Yes.
Which ones do you think that they would have preferred?
Any of them. So
They
long
wanted
as
Muslims
they wouldn't care.
and Hindus.
They wouldn't care.
Satanists.
Jefferson literally said Hindus
Would they
produce
want-
some of the most
would they want
influential
Satanists?
texts. I don't know if they had a conception, but maybe not. You might have me on that one.
Did
But they
Hindus?
didn't
Did
even-
Hindus?
Okay, they didn't even believe in a triune God.
I'm
They
just
didn't
gonna.
Not even letting him talk.
I'm just
believe
following the
God, Father, and
logic.
Holy Spirit. They're not even Christian by your standards.
Oh my God, this guy.
They're not even Christian by.
I can see why you're frustrated because he's making a lot of good points and you're having trouble controlling the conversation. And if you can't control the conversation, you gotta upsetty spaghetti.
Your
Okay,
standards.
well, let me know when you're done. I'll respond.
So if they want a nation based on a unitary God, I mean, by definition, by your definition, they're already not a Christian nation. They don't want that. They want a unitary nation.
Okay, so let's try this. Do Hindus usually come in one color?
If you're talking statistically, they're typically from like Southwest Asia. So generally, yes.
So how many of those do you think that the founding fathers would have wanted here?
They wouldn't care so long
Sort of voices thing. They're so annoying.
as they obey the
They
laws of the
wouldn't
land.
I gotta start doing that because that's like so annoying. I gotta do more of the little like stupid voices, but like on the opposite side. 'Cause, I mean, I can't let other people just be annoying like that and not be annoying back. Oh my goodness.
They wouldn't give a shit. Their priority was that people followed the laws of the land. They
even
placed
take
priority
it.
over the
I can't,
Constitution
bro. I can't even
and the
take it.
written law over any specific sect.
What about Muslims? Do you think that Muslims come in a usual particular color that's not white?
Actually, I would say no. Like statistically, Muslims are becoming. There's more and more white Muslims. So soon you're
Yeah,
going to
at
see
the
more
time.
Muslims than
At the time.
Oh, at the time, probably at the time.
So how many of those would they have wanted?
Infinity.
Yeah, infinity.
Infinity. A million Muslims.
All right, I finally made it. I was so over that, but like for completion's sake, it was nice to really finish something. So, all right, well, it is pretty late. I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night, and I'll try to be back and do another stream on a Saturday like usual, and then we'll see if we can pick another weekday and maybe try to do 2. No like 100% promises, but I'm gonna try my best to be there on Saturday night, and then I do want to do at least like one more during the week sometime. I still haven't decided like which weekday is the best, but the cat is back, absolutely. And enjoy the cat while it lasts, because it's gonna be gone next time. That's it for the cat. Maybe next year we'll bring the cat back, but for now it's got to be like a special festive thing. Okay. Well, I think I'm gonna get some rest, and I will see whoever's here on Saturday. Who wants to hang out Saturday? Will you talk about Baldness on Saturday? I think I'm gonna have to. I don't know if y'all are gonna give me a choice. I think the way it's been going, I may not have a choice. It's gonna that sounds like a yes, unfortunately. I don't know how, but somehow I got into this topic in the beginning of the stream and it hasn't left me. All right. You have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. Bye-bye.